This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're currently looking at the landscape. Not much is happening around us here. On our side here, Ellie and I will bubble on Djuma, but we will be reporting live from all our locations, which is great. Hopefully we'll be able to show you some great sightings. So please jump on board and welcome to your very own live safari from the African wild. Yes, so we're still sitting here at Djuma, looking at the landscape. It is cloudy this afternoon, but it is a nice cool weather, so that can be nice for today. My name is Cedric and I have Darren on camera with me this afternoon. Yeah, so I was saying on our plan for us it's to bumble around, see what we can find and maybe do some birding again. We got some great bird this morning, so why not continue that? Yeah, so we're currently on Philemon's cut line. We left camp a little bit early to see if we can find anything, but no luck yet. But it is very early still. So I think what we will do on our side now, I did one part of Zoe's Road. I would like to do the other part now from Philemon's cut line, and see if we can find anything. It is a bit windy, so it will be very good for the predators as well. As it is quite cool, I think the predators will be mobile quite early. Please don't forget to send us your question on Twitter at #WildEarth, also on YouTube at FC. You can also send us an email for the kids at kidsquestion@wildearth.tv, and you can also register on our website to send us your question from the live safari page. As you can see, it is cloudy here, so let's see what is the weather at all our locations.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're live at Eco Training Pridelands and we're about to start our walk at one of the dams. We'll most likely for today skip the walks and move between the dams to go and see what we can go and find. It's quite windy over here, which makes walking quite unsafe and unpredictable for us. So one of the things that we are going to also do is just every now and then stop and go and see what we can go and find between those 2 points. So my name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Craig. So for those of you that wanted to know what has happened to the shoes, they've actually resurrected again. So some evils unfortunately come back as nightmares. So the backups were kind enough to go and actually dig them out of the mud for me and clean them for me. Not to everybody's delight, but yeah, they're back again for those who are asking. Good afternoon, Wesley, and welcome to the show. At the moment, the wind over here is pretty calm, but once we go out of areas away from the depression where the dam is, then the wind does start picking up. It's also nice and sheltered here as there's a number of large trees. So for those of you who asked me earlier, how does wind influence my guiding abilities? Quite often when it comes to walking, it makes it quite tricky. If you are forced to go and walk, then you generally walk with the wind from behind, but animals can also detect you earlier and that they're not startled at close range, which might lead to a potential attack. As a bird guide, wind is not great and often messes up all your birding for the afternoon or for the morning. A rather soft rain for me is even better when it comes to birding. And for general guiding, what I've also noticed over the years, that wind is not absolutely disastrous. Most animals go and fly flat in open areas where they've got good visibility in the surrounding areas so that they can see if there's any potential threats or predators approaching them. I've even seen lions lying in the open, keeping an eye open for other lions that could potentially come into their territory and harm them. One of the other things we've noticed often with wind is when wind picks up very quickly on a day like this, lions actually will utilize the wind in their favor to go and hunt. And when I was working on the Nwanetsi concession from the Kruger National Park, that's often when we did find kills happening. Very quickly as the wind starts, the lions get up and they start moving. Well, we're going to sit around here a little bit longer and see if there's anything that comes in to come and have a drink. Let's go and say hello to Ali.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this afternoon bumble in a strange weather pattern that we are having today. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today is Morgan. And after today's super successful morning drive, we are in the look for anything with a heartbeat. So we've only come across a kudu. I suspect the very same kudu that we ended the show with this morning. And other than that, we haven't really come across much, not even tracks of anything. It's the wind has carried on blowing throughout the day, and we were saying this morning that this could almost feel like wild dog weather. Don't know why, but whenever there's this strange weather, wild dogs tend to be quite active. So I'm and they did have tracks for wild dogs this morning. Nobody found them though, up in Bushwalk somewhere. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll get moving earlier today, and then they'll run wherever they are. They must run in this direction so that we can see them. And if you're wondering what wild dogs are, where, as the name suggests, is a wild animal that looks very much like a dog, hence the name wild dog. But they're pretty stinky animals. They don't smell the greatest. Oh, we've got a bunch of little birds in front of us. There we go. Some of the blue ones that are really good companions. There we go. It's the blue waxbill. So whenever you're driving or even walking around in the bush, you'll see lots of these little ones. They live together in flocks, I suppose it's the appropriate word, and you'll often find them around the roads or on the elephant dung, either opening up the dung to find the seeds or just eating the seeds from the grass. It seems like maybe we've got about 10 or so of them all around. Oh, who crossed the road there? I don't know. It seems like it was a chagra, but I think it's just gone across the road. I've started noticing as well in some of the trees, blue waxbills are known for building their nest with grass in amongst trees that have a lot of spines, because it's harder then for predators such as snakes to try and get to their eggs. So I've started seeing them here and there. Some of them are old structures that are not being used anymore, but some of them I wonder if perhaps are the new nests for the season. I don't think spring is too far away from us, so it would be interesting if the animals have started with some of their mating processes already. This guy must be really hungry. Little creatures have to eat a lot during weathers or days like today where it's cold, just to try and maintain heat and temperature. The same way that some of us that freeze throughout life, generally, we have to constantly eat or drink hot beverages. Well, this is a sort of the wildlife equivalent when it comes to birds. Oh, they've gone. Oh, there's one right here next to us. I don't know if you can... No, this is going to be impossible because I'm in the way and I can't get out. Okay, well, this was a pretty cool sighting of blue waxbills, so I'm just going to leave them around here. Seems like there's an entire bird party feeding all around, and by bird party I mean birds of different species, roughly the same size, from sort of small to medium birds, all around feeding on different parts of the grass. Looks like there was a firefinch too somewhere in there. Firefinch is almost like a blue waxbill, but they have some red and brown instead of the blue. Darcy, I do think that they are very cute little birds. I think I'm gonna have to move this branch. Sorry, I'm just gonna move it out of the road because then otherwise it's just gonna carry on bothering everyone. But it's not the friendliest tree branch that there is. This particular tree over here, lots of thorns. all around. An elephant has been eating this, as you can see, and this is a buffalo thorn, which is a very sticky plant. There we go. I don't know if you can zoom in on the actual thorns of the tree. So this particular plant is one of those tricky ones that when you're off-roading or if you're walking in the bush, you've got to be very careful because it has a wave of just hooking onto you. As you see, I don't know if you can see it here, it's got a double hook, so it's got sort of a hook that goes like this. Normally this is the hook that is underneath, so hooks like this, and then a short straight spine that hooks on top. So either one of them is gonna try and grab you. Unfortunately, this tree is now dead, but it's the second one we've seen today that elephants have come and sort of decided to feed on. But it's quite interesting because all of the trees that we've seen, or all of the trees of these species, I was talking about another one earlier this morning that was also derooted by the elephants. It's just been that you see they haven't fed on the top, or the ones that I was moving, they haven't fed on the branches themselves. What they done, and I think the tree was originally somewhere around this area, is that they've come and they've actually taken it out from the root, and then they've eaten the base of the root, or the root system. And a lot of the times the elephants do this because they're looking for moisture or more nutrients that are found underneath the earth, rather than trying to eat all of the little leaves and plants and branches that are there on the top.
So we're still driving around. We're making our way now to Impala Plains, which seems to be quite quiet. It is a beautiful spot though. I'm just going to stop here quickly and just listen if we can't hear anything, any alarm calls, and also look around. It is always nice to stop at open areas like that and take the binoculars and look around. Obviously it's a little bit easier to find animals in open areas. Yeah, so this afternoon we are searching for everything. Not looking for one specific animal, just looking around, and whatever we found will be nice. So we are facing west now, so you can imagine the sunset in that area is really, really beautiful. The good thing is that you can search with me as well, looking in the distance there. I think what we will do now is continue on this road, then I want to maybe go check the northern part of Djuma. Maybe go link in that area and see if there's anything there. It is a beautiful spot here.
A good afternoon on this 1st of September, and welcome. And this afternoon we are looking for lions. So we've had tracks and reports of one young lioness that's crossed the road not far from where we are earlier, about 3 hours ago, and we thought we'd come around this way and see if we might
have any luck in that. And then also, we're going to head down to a watering hole where we're going to try and see if we can see some elephants. It's a beautiful overcast day here on Ngala today, and it's right in the heart of our dry season, which is actually brilliant for game viewing at the moment. So the last few days have been very, very busy on Ngala in terms of the animal movements, and we've been seeing a lot of good stuff. So we're hoping that this afternoon we might get a glimpse of some of that. But what we'll do for now, we're right up on a crest. You can see it's a little bit more open around these parts. There's lots of termite mounds around, and then the larger trees without leaves, those are the marula trees. Now this particular area, we haven't had any rain yet, so no, not too much plants flowering around here. We have seen some trees flowering a little bit earlier, like the shambok pod and the red spike thorn, as well as a few of the other trees like the magic worry. But it's dead quiet in this spot. I thought if we stop and have a listen out, maybe we might hear something. But unfortunately, nothing for now. So we're going to continue our search and continue towards that watering hole. In the meantime, we'll head over to JP, who's also looking at some thorn trees.
Welcome back to Bushwalk. I was asked if I wouldn't mind to share a little bit of knowledge on a number of different fawn trees. And the one that we are looking at the moment is known as an umbrella fawn. And one of the unique characteristics about an umbrella fawn is that it's actually got little fawns that are both straight as well as recurved, compared to that of a knob fawn, which has only got decurved fawns. This makes it quite easy to separate it. Those that has the decurved fawns, and you get hooked on them, they're Senegalias, and they previously both used to be in a group that was known as acacias, and this one is now a Vachelia with the straight fawns. So the whole interesting thing about these modified structures is that they're actually modified leaves, which is designed to protect the plant against browsers. There's a theory that earlier on when they discussed acacias and that the development of fawns, as none of the Australian species of acacias originally had fawns compared to the South African ones, is that the African ones had to evolve fawns very rapidly to protect them against a number of different browsing antelope species, including animals such as giraffe, which loves to browse on Senegalias and on Vachelias. And another plant that we have over here, this is a sickle bush. It also has a very similar type of structure. However, this is not a fawn. This is actually a spike, or also known as a spine. And these are actually modified branches and not modified leaves. And you'll start seeing that as that they will branch out, they'll have leaves growing off them, where you never find a leaf growing directly off a fawn. One of the things I also find particularly interesting about fawn trees is that they invest a lot of energy in producing fawns when the tree is still very young. When the tree matures, it will actually spend less energy in producing fawns. The fawns also will become smaller, and you'll also notice that there's less fawns in the center of a tree, where there's less chance for browsers to actually reach. However, there's still quite a lot of fawns on the outside of that plant. So there's a number of other things that plants can also do to protect themselves. In the case of the Vachelias and Senegalias, and also trees that we refer to as combreatums and terminalias out here, they can also release chemicals in the form of tannins, which will increase their tannin levels to prevent that the herbivore feeds further on the plant. Quite often that will send them moving off. However, if the animal are so stressed in drought periods, they continuously feed on it because there's nothing else, that ends up binding the plant material inside the stomach and prevents it from digesting by upsetting the rumen bacteria inside the gut. Some of the other strategies that these plants also have is to release chemicals into the air, which will then prompt other members of the same species to also increase their tannin level, and this will then force that group of animals out of the area to go and feed somewhere else. Nature always comes up with unique little strategies to ensure sustainability in this way. We can also look at a number of other toxins which plants can produce. One of them is prussic acid, especially when the Senegalias as well as the Vichelias become wilted. They will release a specific type of acid. And when animals are forced to feed on that in combination with bacteria and the stomach creates an incredibly toxic soup in the gut, which can poison that animal within less than 24 hours and kill it. Well, we're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find. As we move on, let's go and see what Cedric is up to.
So we're on Paulan Road, just driving slowly. So we're on Paulan Road, driving slowly. There was lions' tracks not far from here, so I wanted to check in that area. I think it was dogmen. I know that Ellie followed the track this morning. So it's always good to come check a bit everywhere. The things with dogmen, as we know, he like to lie flat sometime during the day, so if he's around, it's always good to check. So I got a question this morning about the fastest bird in the Sabi sand. So my answer was the peregrine falcon, which is the right answer. I was just not sure if they were in the area, but they can be found in the area. So they are actually the fastest animal on Earth, because the bird form part of the animal species, and there's different numbers. So they say they can fly up to 390 kilometers per hour. Obviously that will be in the downfall, using gravity to gain that such speed. Yeah, so I apologize, I don't remember the name of the person who sent the question. Yeah, but I checked and it is quite interesting. So the peregrine falcon, the fastest animal on Earth. Not sure, I think we should maybe go check. Oh. Marshall, you're asking what do I look forward to see this afternoon? Some baboons. I'm saying that because we just found some baboons on the road there. But I'm looking a bit for everything this afternoon. I enjoyed the birding this morning, so it would be nice to see some other bird species. But now we just bump into those baboons. There was lots of trucks on the road, and they are quite skittish, so this is why we're keeping our distance there. So we're very close to quarantine, actually. So we are not too far from camp. Yeah, baboons are quite afraid of humans. So if we get too close, they start running, and we don't want to disturb them, obviously. So baboons can also hunt. It happened in the past that they have fed on Impala lamb. So Lisa, are you asking if baboons are always found in groups? Yes, mostly, yeah. Same as the other primate, such as the vervet monkey. But other primates like the bush baby, they are not found in groups. But baboons will be often seen most of the time in groups. Sometimes you can have one big male alone walking around, but most of the time you see groups like that. They are very big, and can give a very bad bite. So I was saying they can even kill some Impala lamb, for example, and feed on them It's quite cute with the young one on the back there. I didn't see a lot of baboons since I started at Djuma. A couple of times only. Sorry, I'm just going to put the handbrake on quickly. I apologize for the noise. Because as the animals are quite far, if the car moves a bit, it's not very nice with the zoom. So now they will spend the rest of the day foraging for food, and then at night they go sleep, generally in a big tree, to be safe off the ground. Elizabeth, you're asking for how long the baby baboons will stay with their mom for. Well, they're generally going to stay in the same group for a long time. I'm not sure for how long, if they separate and start another group, at what age, but generally they stay with their parents. So you can have big groups of baboon, over 30 of them, and it can get very loud when there's a fight, or if there's even a predator around. They have a very loud alarm call, which I'm not going to try to do. So they can sometimes cause a bit of damage in camps, because they are very strong animals. They can sometimes even rip a door open. I had that experience one time. I was in the Kruger Park, and one baboon, just like while we were having a nap, one baboon just came and opened the door, which was locked. We got quite a fright there. So the reason why, as I was saying, I don't want to follow them, because otherwise they will start running in all the directions, and I don't want to disturb their current behavior. So these are called Djuma baboons. Yes, a big male can get very big. I'm not sure how many kilograms I will look, but they can get very big. And they have very big teeth as well. Yes, so a male can weigh up to 40 kilograms, which is very big for a primate. And they live quite long as well, between 20 and 30 years. So the tracks are very similar to the vervet monkey, but obviously the vervet monkey tracks will be smaller, but again you also have small baboons, so it is a little bit difficult to differentiate sometimes. Okay, so we're just going to continue, maybe go check Galagopan.
Calling all WildEarth explorers, we have a new and frankly awesome travel prize for you to win. andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve encompasses an impressive 28,000 hectares of protected wildlife land in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. As you have seen on WildEarth, andBeyond Phinda showcases one of the continent's finest game viewing experiences, and is well known for close-up sightings of the elegant yet elusive cheetah, as well as the rare black rhino. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the 16th of September, and you and a friend could be heading to the magnificent Phinda Mountain Lodge, where you will spend 3 nights escaping the real world at this ultimate safari location. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
It's day 1 of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're at the moment looking at another tree which has got a number of different strategies that it's evolved to protect itself. And this is known as a tambuti. And the one that we see over here is a very young tambuti. And as we've already been discussing thorns and spines, the young tree actually will make a spine to protect it against browsers. It doesn't seem to stop giraffe, however. The adult tree lacks these spines, and quite often, when as trainers, when we provide field observation tests to the young aspirant guides, we like to throw this tree in as a curveball. Just a few pointers how to separate it from the adult tree. Firstly, it's got smooth bark, the presence of spines, compared to the adult tree, which has got dark bark, as well as a lack of spines. But one of the sure ways of always checking is to look at the leaf. It's got a simple leaf which has got a serration onto the edge. Unfortunately, this one is so dry that it doesn't show any of the white latex. So the toxic milky white latex that oozes out here can also be used for poisoning fish or to put it onto a tooth that's busy rotting. And in that way, you can kill the tooth into the root system and then remove the tooth. What I do find interesting is that there's a number of other animals that will also feed on that, and one of them is black rhino. And then quite often we notice that the porcupines actually love ring barking these trees at the base of a tree, where they'll gnaw on the bark. A few weeks ago we actually found a tree which was where all the bark has been gnawed off for the whole circumference of that tambuti tree. When it comes to black rhinos, they tend to also eat a number of other incredibly toxic plants. And some of the most toxic plants that I know out here is a tree that's known as a bushveld candelabra euphorbia. And also on top of the Lubombo Mountains, we also got another euphorbia species, which is also referred to as a Lubombo euphorbia. And both of those are eaten by black rhinos. And I've noticed also that even baboons will break off pieces of it and eat it without being affected by the toxic latex that's inside it. They reckon that black rhino can get up to 50% of their moisture requirements in arid environments by simply feeding on these incredibly toxic plants. Well, we're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find. As we move off and see what else we can go and see, let's go and see what Yappy is up to.
So we went to go check down towards a watering hole. There's not much happening on that side at the moment. And it's been really like the wind suddenly picked up quite a bit. It's very, very windy today here on Ngala, and we can see a little bit of green around us now, and that's because we're heading down closer towards the riverbed side. But we're still having a look out to see if we might pick up on any tracks of those lions that were seen earlier. For now, nothing this far. Now, it is quite interesting to note that on days like today, cats especially, but predators are a little bit more active, and they move quite a lot. They can travel very far distances, and because of that, they're a little bit more tricky to find as well. But while we continue our search this afternoon, we're also looking out for anything special along this side. We'll head over to Cedric, who's got a bull laying down.
Yeah, good luck, Yappy, they're finding the lions. Hopefully we'll be lucky. We found a beautiful buffalo bull. I see only one at the moment, so I know it is a male. If it was a female, there would have been more around. And obviously we can see by the size as well. We often find males in small group or even alone sometimes. This is what we call the Daga boys. So we're currently at Galagopan. Apart from lots of dwarf mongoose running everywhere, it is quiet except for that beautiful buffalo there. Buffaloes can get very big. Over 800 kilograms for the male. And obviously when you're on foot, it can get quite dangerous. Especially with the lonely bull like that, because they don't have the safety of a herd. So the best defense would be to charge. And they're quite on edge as well, because lions like to target them, and they don't have the herd to protect them. So they live up to 23 years. So buffaloes are grazers, they eat grass mainly, but it can happen sometimes that they browse when it's drought time. I saw one eating leaf last time I was here. I think it was quite a while, but at Chitwat Dam there was one eating some leaves. I don't know if he had an upset stomach, or it was quite nice to see. You don't see buffalo eating leaves every day. Seems very relaxed there. There might be more in the drainage line, but for the moment I see only one. I would love to see the big herd that Chris saw. I think it was Chris or Andrew. Was it with you, Darren? Huh? Yeah. A big herd of about 400 buffaloes. That would be nice to see. Probably the same herd I saw at Chitwa Dam in the past, and at Gary Dam as well. They form bigger herds generally in winter, so during this time. It happens that in summer then they separate themselves a bit and have smaller herds. One thing I would love to see is a proper fight of two buffalo bulls. Okay, as we look at the oxpecker on that buffalo bull, we will send you to Yapi, who have a journey of tall animals.
So, well, the best thing about driving near the Timbavati riverbed is the large clearings that are on the crests, not far off from the river. And that's also where there's still a little bit of food. So we've come across a small group of giraffe. There's actually quite a couple here. There you go, a very, very pale one. Incredible to see how light that skin is. It doesn't look like there's a lot of food in the trees from what I can see, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be moving quite steadily. And there's a little bird, the fork-tailed drongo, following it. Hammond, what thorn trees can giraffes feed on? It depends on the thorn trees that do occur within the area that they live, but they are very well adapted to go after any thorn trees, really. If we look at the giraffes, especially that one there, it's not feeding on a thorn tree at the moment. It looks like a bush willow, but it's very well adapted for feeding on thorn trees. You see, it's quite a narrow face, pointy, and it's got almost prehensile-like lips and a very long tongue. So you can see it literally plucks off the little leaves or strips them off. I've seen them do that even on thorn trees, and you think to yourself, how is this giraffe able to do that without getting hurt? But they're quite well adapted for that. They got very, very thick skin around the lips. They've got these protective hairs and a very, very thick tongue covered in a lot of saliva as well. And then the skin is really, really tough. Giraffe skin is very tough, especially the skin along the rump and the backside. In some areas, it's even believed that it might be thicker than elephant skin in certain sections. So giraffes are very well adapted for eating most thorny trees. A knob thorn, something with a hook thorn in it. They usually pluck off the smaller leaves of those trees, and then they also have the other thorn trees with like the flaky bark thorn that we find in some areas here in Ngala. They have the long, thin white thorns. Those ones are easier to strip, especially the newer branches with the smaller thorns. They don't seem to be too bothered by it. How amazing is that? Big bull giraffe walking across the clearing, and the other giraffes moved off. Now, it might not look as interesting or curious. Oh, that is a large giraffe carrying his entourage of oxpeckers on him. And it looks like a few younger bulls and then this older guy, and I think that younger giraffe is moving because of the fact that this big bull is moving in his direction. We've been seeing a lot of big bulls move into the area, and they certainly pull rank in certain situations.
back with us. So we're still with our buffalo, who stood up now. He's limping, so it is a bit sad. So he might be a target for the lions if there's lions around. I don't want to stress him too much, so I don't think I will spend too much time here. Maybe let him be. Obviously for him to be alone, plus having a limp, as you can see there, it might be a bit stressed. As he walk away, I think we will also continue on our side. It's nice to see a big buffalo bull though. Might go in that drainage line and maybe later go lie in the water next to the dam. I'm going through a little ditch now, so I really hope we're not going to lose signal. I apologize if we do. It's always nice to drive in this little ditch and look at the dry riverbed for leopards. They really like lying there, especially when it's a bit warm, but today it's quite cool, so. Okay, so I think we'll make our way now to Gary Dam, see if there's anything there, and then make a decision from there where to go. So we're almost at the dam. Let's go check that.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. So in our previous segment, we were discussing a number of animals that can deal with incredibly toxic plants. And one of those we mentioned was a porcupine. And here we can see where a porcupine was actually gnawing on a tamboti. This is quite old damage. If it was fresh, this would have been red-brown in color. But you can see where the teeth has made its impressions right over here on the side of a tree. If it does go through the whole circumference of a tree, it can potentially kill the tree because the inner bark is what's responsible for transporting nutrients and minerals within these trees. Something else that we've also can see right over here is a mud smear that's been created by a warthog. And they also love rubbing themselves against these trees. Nice rough surface if you had a nice mud bath and you're full of mud and now you want to come and get rid of all those excess mud as well as ticks that's coated in that mud, you simply come and rub yourself here. A number of other animals that has also been here. If we have a look over here, there's also been a smooth surface. That's some mud that's been deposited. And this has been the work of elephant. That's also come for a little bit of a rub after they've wallowed here at the dam. So it's pretty amazing when we look at porcupines and you look at their dental structure. They've got two large incisor teeth on both the front and lower jaw, and these two rub over one another. And this is what enables them to actually gnaw away at the side of branches and hard objects and roots. I've also often found them actually gnawing on bones so that they can obtain calcium from that. One of the things that I've also quite often seen is that they drag these bones back towards their den sites. At one stage there was an eland horn at one of the reserves where I worked in the Kalahari, which was often dragged into the road. And one night I by accidentally drove over it and it created a serious puncture which I could not fix. It was quite a while before I got home that evening. I had to go and actually radio to get some assistance as I didn't have a spare wheel on that specific vehicle. Well, we're going to move off and go and see what else we can go and find. As we move on, let's go and see what Cedric is up to.
Yeah, so we did left our buffalo. Shame, he was a bit stressed. He was limping, and it must be quite stressful for him, you know, to be alone and also having an injury. So we just at Gary Dam now. Just came to check here if there's anything, maybe do a bit of birding, but it seems to be very, very quiet. I don't see the hippo. There was a hippo here this morning when we started the show. Probably under the water. Okay, so I think what we will do now, we'll continue on our side. Maybe check Twin Dam Road again, and maybe go away. We didn't go this morning around the eastern part. We did a little part of the eastern part of Djuma this morning. I would like to go check again if there's anything. Okay, so let's see what we can find there. Yeah, to come back to that buffalo, it is a very difficult time for them now, for him being injured. If there's lions around, they will definitely target him. Just looking in that tree there, beautiful jackalberry. Yeah, it is still quiet on the radio at the moment. Not all the vehicles are out. But hopefully we'll get a few feedback a bit later. Oh. So yeah, I think I saw a little steenbok or something there. I'm just going to check. Yeah, there's a beautiful little steenbok. They are very small, so sometimes when they're lying flat, obviously now it's in the open area, but it can be difficult to see them sometimes. Oh, now we can hear our hippo. He was underwater. I really like the markings in their ears. They are very cute little antelopes. Looked like, does he have one here missing? Or it is at the back? Okay, so I think we'll continue. I will just check that little steenbok. Seems to have one ear missing, or it's at the back of its head. But in the meantime, we'll send you to Phinda.
Good afternoon from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've finally managed to get out into the bush after being held hostage by the rain clouds under covers. But we're out, we've managed to find some zebra, and we're hoping that the rain stays away for a bit so we can spend some time out here. My name is Damon, and behind the camera is Owen. And we unfortunately have had our plans to go and explore the plains looking for cheetah and black rhino this afternoon. We've had those plans thwarted by the weather. So we're going to rather stay a bit closer to the lodge, just in case we need to rush back to get under cover. So yeah, in the meantime, we've managed to find a lovely herd of zebra off to our left. It looks like they're here with a couple of wildebeest as well. And the reason that we actually stopped here is that Owen was just telling me the last couple of days, you all who've been watching follow the show often, apparently you've been spending a bit of time here with a young zebra that is apparently quite badly injured. So we just stopped here to see if we could see if this was the herd that has that young zebra in it. Apparently it's a youngster that has a big gash across its rear end. Based on Owen's description, sounds more than likely a scratch or a scar from an attempted lion hunt, and the young zebra was able to get away. So I'm just having a look through my binoculars, trying to see. I don't know if you can see at the back there. Well, there you go. That zebra that's kind of dead center of your screen. That's further back. Not the one that's got its head down, grazing, facing in our direction. But Owen reckons that might be the youngster. So I've got my binoculars out, busy looking to see if I can see its rump. There you go. It's just lifted its head now. But the other adult in the foreground is currently obscuring our view. It's actually quite a nice shot. The zebra kind of feeding on a hill above us, so almost at eye level to them. Hammond, oh, there's the scar. There's the scar, everybody. Have a look at that. Oh, wow. It's a big open wound there on its left side of its rump. Well, it doesn't look too bad anymore. It looks like it's healed up quite nicely. But yeah, I don't know if you can see, there's quite a prominent line that goes down to the right from that very pink area. And it looks to me, I know it's a bit tough to see with all the bushes and things in the way. Like we said, we're kind of a little bit lower down than the zebra are. So we're going to have some bushes and some grass obscuring our view every now and then. But from where I'm sitting, it looks like there's quite a bad gash there. So yeah, I would hazard to guess from an attempted lion hunt. And the young zebra was able to escape. But sorry, Hammond, you were asking how many zebra species there are. Hammond, so we get the Burchell zebra, the plain zebra, and numerous different subspecies of the plain zebra, kind of stretching up from South Africa all the way up through East Africa, a couple different subspecies. Then you get the Cape Mountain zebra and the Hartmann zebra. Two different subspecies of mountain zebra, and the Giraffe zebra up in East Africa, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest on average. And those are the ones that I can think of for now, Hammond. But yeah, there we go. There's there's a little fork-tailed drongo. So just as these zebra have been feeding, have a look at those drongos and how they're very carefully scanning down towards the ground with their very keen eyesight. And as these zebra move through the long grass, just imagine how all the little insects that are clinging to the blades of grass might fly up or jump away while trying to avoid getting inadvertently ingested by the zebra, or even just flushed by the moving of the herd through the grass. Just imagine all the little insects that will get kicked up, and that's what the drongo is looking for. Looking for any little insects that have been flushed out. But good to see this young zebra, and I'm sure for all of you, you'll be interested to see how it's doing and monitor its progress. It seems to be doing pretty well though, and I think to me that wound looks like it's almost completely healed up. We're gonna leave the herd of zebra and we're gonna carry on heading towards a waterhole to see what's going on around there.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still out and about and looking at a number of interesting things which we found on a Stambuti tree. One of them was where a longhorn beetle was busy feeding, or the larvae at least of that longhorn beetle was feeding. And we were pointing out the waste product that it's creating, which is known as frass. We also see that a number of other insect species such as caterpillars as well as locusts will also produce frass. And that will then be used by the plant eventually as a fertilizer as it drops onto the ground and gets washed into the soil with the next rains. We often see that insect infestations take place on trees where the tree has actually been damaged. In this case, it's most likely been twisted over by an elephant that broke this branch. In some cases, trees that has been ring-barked in total by species such as elephant or as by porcupines, those trees also become very quickly susceptible to insect infestations. When a tree is healthy, there's a number of mechanisms that it can use to actually protect it, and one of those are often resins which will be excreted where the damage has taken place, and some of the resins also has some form of antimicrobial and antibacterial qualities which will protect the tree against harmful bacteria. But just like any animal, when it's not in a great condition, you become even more susceptible to a number of other parasites as well as diseases which can potentially bring your health further down. We're going to move off and go and see what else we can go and find. As we walk off, let's go and see what Yapi is up to.
So this side, it is still very windy this afternoon, and we've checked the watering hole. We went back there and had another look again, and there's nothing there at the moment. So we are currently moving closer towards the Timbavati River, in which case, if we don't have any luck there, I just thought I saw something in the distance, but if we don't have any luck there, then we might just continue to another watering hole and hopefully find some signs of elephants. Now this area, like the dry riverbed running off to our left here, it gets very well utilized on a windy day like today. Giraffe, elephant, all the larger animals, they do like to shelter themselves from the wind there. So the wind in part plays a big role as to why we don't see so much general game around at the moment. Animals are cold. With the clouds and the overcast weather, it adds to the coolness of the day. And it also affects their hearing, it affects their sense of smell. I always find it fascinating how dependent game viewing is on weather. I guess like anything, like what we do on cold days and hot days, you know, it must have the same effect on the animals, of course, or the creatures around here. But it's amazing to know that it can be so dead quiet in terms of animal movements, at least the ones that we see. And even birds do actually go and hide themselves, like this knobthorn right here in front of us. I can see up on the top left-hand corner there is a grey go-away bird, and what a beautiful tree. You can see the tree's still got a couple of flowers left. It has started flowering quite early, but we had a little bit of spittle rain coming down a while back. And the giraffes and these guys, the grey go-away bird. There you can see it looks like it might be a pair. I only see the two. But they often come and they eat the flowers. You can see the branches swaying in the wind. And oddly enough, it's quite wind still in this little patch where we are at the moment. And I think maybe that's also why these birds have decided to shelter themselves up in that tree. I can see the one's got its head tucked in a little bit. And got himself puffed up. And then the air moving in between the feathers will get trapped there and warmed up. And that's where the bird insulates itself. But it's also a nice dense tree for protection. So you often have smaller birds sleeping in Thorn at night time. It's quite a... the way it grows is quite dense. There's a lot of thorns, there's a lot of smaller branches. And a tree like this must be quite an old one. Relatively prominent tree in this area, which is actually amazing to see. Right behind this tree there is also another one, but that one is dead, unfortunately. And that one has lost the battle with the elephant, I'm sure. Part of, as the name suggests, the knob thorn, the tree has quite a pronounced knob with a thorn right on the tip. And as we can see there, on one of the branches on the side, and those are pretty big ones. Now, I've also seen that some trees that gets fed on by animals a lot, they tend to produce more of these knobs, and it's almost like they compensate for the fact that they get cropped. Now, I do think that maybe part of the growth form of this tree was that it used to be cropped from way.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Yapi's been talking quite a bit about the wind up there. The wind has just picked up here a little bit as well. And we spotted this white-backed vulture that's busy using that wind to its advantage. Have a look at how it's busy circling. And just watch its head very close to everybody. Odie's doing an amazing job of keeping it in frame. Look at how its head every now and then kind of just dips down. Of course, as it's soaring way up there. Oh my word, it's moving fast now. I wish there was some way to show you guys just how fast. There we go. It's absolutely moving. Look at that. Rocketing down to the right and out of frame. That was incredible. Good going, Odie. But yeah, so that vulture was kind of circling over here for quite a while, and then it kept tilting its head down as if it was just checking the ground, scanning for any signs of potential food, maybe a carcass, or maybe it saw some lions moving around. Well, to see if it could see some lions or hyenas moving around that might give away the presence of a kill of a carcass that it could then go down and try and feed on. And the fact that it was moving like that quickly, very often that's an indication that a vulture has seen something. Often if the circling is not necessarily an indication that they've found something. That's often just them riding thermals and conserving energy, just using the hot air rising off of the ground to prevent them from having to flap. But often if you see them diving down with their wings tucked in like that, it means that they've seen something. That one, it seems like it's, I can't see it now, it's moved so far. But yeah, it was kind of diving down, but it might have also just been moving from one little area where the air is rising, from one little updraft. Where it was flying earlier, there's a big mountain there, so a bit of wind that's maybe blowing up the face of the mountain and giving that vulture some lovely kind of, almost like a boost to keep it in the air. And it might just be moving on to the next thermal or the next little spot like that. But wherever it is, it's gone very, very, very far. We had stopped here originally because there was a group of impala that were in front of us, some youngish males that were busy browsing and grazing on some of the grasses and bushes in front of us. There's a couple of trees with the arrival of spring that are just starting to bear new green leaves. And there's one off to our left here that is especially vibrant and good looking. It's a red ivory. Have a look at those green leaves, how bright they are. They've all just started to come out now with the changing of the seasons. And those red ivories, those lovely bright green leaves, they're super, super, super soft leaves as well. And many of the herbivores absolutely love to feed on them. Impala, giraffe, nyalas. And later on in the year, normally come kind of December time, they start to bear the most delicious little red fruits that many of the animals here will feed on too. Many birds as well. But yeah, the impala have moved off, the vulture has flown off. So I think we're gonna carry on heading down the road. Like I said, we've got to be quite careful with where we go. There's a very scary, ominous cloud off to our right that's moving towards us, and I think the wind is going to probably push it towards us faster, although it's not really heavy rain, it's more of like a drizzle. And as long as the wind keeps the cloud moving, that rain is probably not going to fall on us. But if the wind stops, that's when we're going to get very wet. So I think we'll stay relatively close to the lodge, but we're going to keep on making our way along this road down here, head towards a waterhole, like I said earlier, and see if there's any activity around there.
We are with a very grumpy buffalo. So it came quite close to us, but we could see that he was not really happy with our presence. I think the reason why, I'm not sure if you will be able to see, but on the back legs you can see some scratch mark, probably from lions, which is very fresh. As you can see there, I apologize for the sensitive viewers. So he's probably been attacked by lions really, really recently. Fortunately for him, he survived, but his mood is not very good. And injured, well, he's not really injured, just a scratch for him. But buffaloes like that who had a bad night, the encounter with lions, can be very grumpy. Here's another big bull alone. I'm keeping an eye on him because you never know with those big buffaloes. There's a beautiful lilac-breasted roller as well there, following the buffaloes. So what they do, they use the movement of the buffalo to catch insects. And there's a oxpecker, excuse me, on the buffalo. So it's currently moving alongside the road. I'm just letting him go a little bit, then we will reposition. He did give us a little bit of a shake heads. He did put his own in the branches, showing that he's not happy. Shame he must have had a rough night. It is understandable. So he just went beyond that little bush there. I will reposition soon.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're busy looking at a track of a buffalo, and right over here we've got the front foot. Today is an exceptionally windy day, and when it comes to wind can age a track very, very rapidly, and it's always good to have a reference of how a track can age. And a few things that you can do is you can make an impression of your own footprint. Here's my shoe right over here, and you can see how nice and sharp the edges are of this. And you can come back a half an hour later and you can come and look at the track again and then make another impression. Here you can already see how the sharp edges have deteriorated as the wind is blowing and it started crumbling. Quite often what we also notice with very fresh tracks is sometimes a thin little black line with tiny little microscopic moisture particles that will surround the track. And that's typical of a track that's incredibly fresh. Then you know that you're on a track that is literally less than a few minutes old. Under conditions like these, where we have buffalo, knowing that it's windy, we've decided not to follow this animal. We don't think the track is very old. It's been here recently, within the last hour or so, and it's purely just wind that aged the track. He's most likely resting up somewhere in the thicket in the distance, and that can potentially get us into a bit of a tricky situation if we do decide to follow or continue walking behind him, as he wouldn't be able to hear us due to the wind, or most likely not be able to smell us, depending if the wind is in our or in his advantage or disadvantage. We're going to continue and go and see what we can find. Let's go and see what Cedric is up to.
We are with this buffalo bull there, walking alongside Twin Road. He is in a very grumpy mood. Sorry, I think he's still moving, so he might pop out in the gap. Why is he in a bad mood? There's some scratch on his back and back legs, so I think he might have been attacked by lions very recently. Oh, just want him to come in the open. There we go. You can see also his eyes are like red, blood red. This is what I could see. It's like it's not really happy, that buffalo. If you look also on the back legs, you will see now. Look at that. Shame. Must have had a very rough night. That looked quite recent. You can see still some the blood seems to be quite fresh. He keep on looking at us. He did put his own in some branches to show a bit of aggression, but now he's just walking slowly. I'm not going to spend too much more time with him, as he is quite in a bad mood and I don't want to put more pressure on him. Jackson, you asking if buffalo breed all year round? Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I think they do breed all year round. Because this is why in the herd you can see different age of buffalo calf. So the gestation will be 11 months. But I will double check about this, but I'm pretty sure they breed all year round. Okay, so I think it's moving in that direction. Maybe what we can do on our side, go check Treehouse Dam and see what's happening there. Just going to reverse quickly. It was quite nice to see that buffalo. I would love to spend more time with him, but we did spend a bit of time already and I don't want to put too much pressure on him. What we can do is maybe later go check Gary Dam. Maybe he's going to lie in the dam there. Okay, so while we continue to look for animals, let's have a look at the beautiful expedition at the Mara coming soon.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
Yeah, sorry about that little technical issue. So we're still driving here. To come back to that buffalo question, actually they breed and calve during the rainy season. The reason is they get more food, obviously, when the grass is nice and green. So it will make it easier for the female to get better milk and obviously for the calf to get better food. Yeah, so I had to check that. Sometimes when you don't see animals too often, you tend to forget. So it's always good to check always. And also what is nice is get questions from you, because then it makes us check to be sure that our answer is right. So because the gestation period is 11 months, which is almost a year, so they mate during the rainy season and calve during the rainy season. But obviously the rainy season is quite long, so it can be any time during the rainy season. Oh, sorry about that, the road is a little bit bumpy. Almost lost Darren there. Yeah, so I think what we will do on our side, drive slowly here and go check Treehouse Dam if there's anything happening there. Look like it's a buffalo day for us. Well, buffalo afternoon. We saw 2 of them already. Quite interesting to see the one with some scratches on the back. So that means that there might be some lions not too far. It was probably last night, or a little bit longer than that, but it was coming from Twin Dam So, well, from that direction. So maybe a bit later we can go check in that area on Gary Main. But I know that Ellie drove there already, so always good to check again though. Yeah, I do like Treehouse Dam. It's always nice to go check there. I do like that dam because me and Davy got an incredible sighting of a honey badger there a while ago. So every time I go there I try, well, I hope to see it again, but obviously I think we were so lucky that day. It will be very difficult to have it again, but you never know. I didn't see much tracks on my side. No leopard tracks, just a lion's track not far from quarantine, which is probably dark main. So we'll check again in that area. Look like there's a big bird on that tree there. That looked like a very big bird on the tree just straight in front of us. I just need to make sure what it is. Looked like a juvenile martial eagle. Look at that. Actually, we are not very far from the bird we saw, but we couldn't see it again this morning. Now remember, it was a very big bird. It might have been him, actually. It does look like a juvenile martial eagle. It is big. So they tend to be quite white when they're young. Talking about the rainy season, when all the... Oh wow, look at that. Great work by Darren there. Might have lost it behind there. That was very nice. Yeah, so talking about the rainy season, martial eagle will even kill some Impala lamb and small antelope. So they are a very big bird. They are the biggest bird of prey that we have here. And they're always impressive to see. This one was a juvenile, and they get even bigger than that. Okay, so let's continue. That was a very good surprise. The birding have been quite good today, especially for the bird of prey. I didn't see a long time now, so it was very, very nice. And we're not too far from the dam now, so hopefully there will be a nice surprise there. Okay, so let's continue there and check the dam. Can get here.
RSA has a long history, over 90 years, of being involved and even pioneering aspects of the conservation sector in South Africa. Over that long history, we have realized that all of the issues that we are facing both locally and globally are due to human impact. Therefore, we need to concentrate on working with people, and that is what WESA does. What makes me passionate about the work that we do at WESA, and in particular the work that I engage in, is actually connecting with people. Currently the work that I'm working on is working with youth in a skills development program, and just to meet the youth and to hear their stories and to bring them opportunities that we hope will have some impact on their lives really fuels me to get up every morning. A huge shout out to the women that I work with, as well as to all the women that are contributing hugely within the environmental sector, both in South Africa and in the world.
And I turned to Shaun and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened, or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Shaun probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb, because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with the cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome to the Wild West Coast, everyone. This is happy spring day, everybody. By the way, I'm very excited. It's me, Tswalu. I've got Jason on camera. We're exploring the rock pools here in Glencairn today. It was cut a little short yesterday, so I thought there's still so many things I wanted to show you. So I'm going to show you today, hopefully. It's obviously very windy, and the tide is starting to come in, but it's still not the highest of high tide. Hello ocean, giving me a bit of an ocean spray, waking me up, reminding me not to complain about the cold in Djuma. Just a little wet there, nothing too crazy, everyone. I've got to hold on to my hat. It's been crazy. I've had to hold on to my hat. I almost lost Pokey. Unbelievable. How could I survive without Pokey? But that doesn't matter, because I've seen some really cool stuff along in the pools. Obviously, I'm at the end now of the rocks where it is a little rougher, just because I wanted to give you an idea of what it's like at the moment. But I've seen some oyster catches, some kelp gulls. I've seen some skyphozoa. Oh, that's a new word, isn't it? Well, we'll go investigate all of those things. Also, like I said, it's not terrible high tide. We still have a bit of time before the tide comes in properly. And I think in terms of the wind, this is about the worst it's going to get for today. So you can see the wonderful kelp heads there. We'll chat a little bit about that too, if you're not tired of kelp, that is. But for now, I'm going to move on to the rock pools and prepare all these wonderful things I've told you about.
From the rock pools of the Western Cape to a beautiful waterhole up here in Maputo land, and I have managed to get to this waterhole that we've set out to come and investigate this afternoon. And I think the most exciting, certainly the thing that got Owen and I jumping up and down when we came over the wall, was that hippo over there and her little calf, fast asleep on that little peninsula. There's also a great white egret that's about to, did it catch up? I was going to say that was a very half-hearted attempt if it was trying to catch something. was that great white egret's little stab with its neck there. Sorry, there's just so much going on. I was talking about the hippo and then got distracted by the egret. And then see all the white-breasted cormorants also to the left of the hippos, sitting up there. And see how most of those cormorants, well, obviously all of them have that very dark back, but then they've all got that very pale white belly and chest. And that tells us that these are juvenile white-breasted cormorants. Oh, hippo's up, hippo's up, hippo's up. Sorry, everybody. Let's just see what she does. Sorry, we're kind of all over the place. There's just so much going on. That's often one of the most wonderful things about a waterhole, is that there's always something interesting happening if you just look hard enough. So that mother hippo and her calf have just stood up. And we'll see what they do. They've been lying on that bank presumably for quite some time now. We drove past them and they didn't even open their eyes. Obviously enjoying being out of the water. Maybe trying to warm up a little bit. It's a relatively warm day. The sun is, kind of being obscured by clouds. And I suppose that allows those hippos to take the risk of sunbathing for a bit longer without running too much risk of damage to their skin from the sun. Darcy Miller, you're saying it seems like the hippos really like that island. Darcy Miller, I think I agree with you. Have a look where the hippos are standing. Can you see how all the soil there has been trampled? It's a very different color to the soil of the rest of that little bank. It's all the grass has been trampled away, and it's almost made like a little beach. The hippos have made their own little beach by trampling the soil. Yeah, all the trampled earth. And the hippos using it so frequently means that nothing can really grow there. And it's such a lovely little spot for them. It's obviously close to the water where they feel safe. They can come out and bask in the sun, get back to the water quickly and easily if they have to, if they feel threatened. Has that little baby just laying down again? I think it has. Shame. I wonder why Mom decided to stand up. Maybe that there was a change in the direction of the wind. She may have smelled something, it caught her attention. Of course, her having this little calf, she's going to be extra vigilant and extra alert for any signs of potential danger, any signs of any potential threat to her little one. Also interesting that she's alone. I've been looking around and I haven't seen any other hippos in this waterhole. There is another waterhole that we might go and investigate depending on if we get rained on or not. So it does look like there's a bit of a rain squall heading in our direction from the south. And the last time I was there, that waterhole was quite full of hippos. There were quite a lot of hippos in there. So it may be that this female is from that same pod, and she's just come here to keep her little baby away from the others, where of course the little one being so small runs the risk of getting trampled if the rest of the herd gets a bit unruly. Sorry, I think it was Nina. It was a question asking if hippos ever attack other animals or birds. Yes, they do. More so other animals than birds. Obviously, birds being quite small and very, very, very nimble, very agile, and very able to move out of the way. Also being quite small, so not really any sort of threat to a hippo or its territory. But yes, if other animals come into the water and start to swim around, they run the risk of a territorial hippo attacking them. There's video footage on the internet of, I think the one that comes to mind immediately is, if I'm not mistaken, was a pack of wild dogs that chased an impala into a waterhole. And the impala, obviously trying to get away from the wild dogs, swam out to the middle of the waterhole where there was a big hippo, watching all of this unfold. And the hippo obviously saw the Impala as intruding on his territory, and it proceeded to move across to the Impala, open its mouth, and kill the Impala by biting down on it. Obviously, hippos being herbivorous, feeding on grass mainly, it was definitely not for food. It was, as I said earlier, just the hippo feeling the need to defend its territory. But yeah, I've seen also before with elephants and with rhinos coming down to the water, especially if the water is in short supply in very dry times. When elephants will try and go into the water to swim or mud bath, or rhinos could try to mud bath as well. If there's a hippo in there, it may try to push them out. Obviously, with an elephant, most of the time, the elephant is going to force the hippo to give way. An elephant, especially a big bull, is much bigger than a hippo and will normally get his way. But hippos with those big lower canine teeth, they're quite a formidable animal. Oh, let's see what Mum does. And the little calf has stood up again. Look at how tiny it is compared to her. It almost looks like I don't know what it looks like, but it's just so cute. It's just this fat round body on these tiny little short little legs, almost like a jelly bean on stilts or something like that. Very cute. Guard's got its nose to the ground there, busy smelling. That's where Mum was lying down, so she may have defecated or urinated there. Maybe the calf is smelling there. See, there's also a blacksmith lapwing just to the right of the hippo calf. And a grey-headed gull now entering from the left-hand side of the screen and moving away after being looked at by the baby hippo. But there's just so much activity going on here. We've only looked at the island. There's still a whole bunch more going on the other side of the water. So when you come back to us, we'll try and show you some of the other creatures that are also using this waterhole at the moment.
Sorry, I was looking at some tracks there which looked like to be hyenas going in that direction. So we're not far. Actually, we're exactly where Tlalomba had a kill the last time I was here. And I'm not sure. I know she was seen quite recently. I'm not sure in which area. Maybe Darren knows. But we're checking currently around Treehouse Dam. So we did quite a bit of a loop coming back towards the dam, and I think now I would like to go check the northern part of the reserve. There was a report on the radio that there was tracks of 2 leopards together, which might be Kara and Tavangumi, but moving north, so not moving in the right direction. But that was also tracks from this morning, so you never know. Maybe we can go drive around there, still on Djuma though. Maybe they did do a U-turn and came back towards. Try. I'm just going to stop here and just listen. We're losing a bit of signal, so I will use that to listen and see if I can hear anything. We are quite close to a drainage line there where leopards like to walk in, so it is a good place to stop. It is very quiet. No bird, unfortunately, calling, so no alarm call. I think we will continue soon.
We are sitting at Chitwa Dam with perhaps two of its oldest, I would say, and scariest predators. So we've got a big crocodile. We only get the species called the Nile crocodile in this area, or well, in South Africa, in the wild. We've got the one on the right-hand side, and then we've got the other one on the left-hand side, which is quite nice because I haven't seen the two of them having a very relaxed stare-off in a very long time. If I were to guess, I would assume that the one on the right is the female, because females tend to be a little bit bigger than the males, and that the one on the right-hand side is the male, maybe a younger one. And I was actually remembering a couple of years ago, I think it was in April, we had a very interesting sighting of Nile crocodiles, sort of like courtship display or mating, and I think they actually ended up mating. And it's quite a funny thing, because the male will try to splash and impress the female, and then one of them the male had its head raised above the water, and then the tip of the tail was also like arched in a very funny way, and then all of a sudden things evolved, and then they started mating, and we were quite surprised at what we were looking at, because normally in this area they tend to mate later in the year, so they should just be coming out of their mating season, and the female should be or will be laying her eggs down quite soon at some stage, with the little ones hatching runabout with the starts of the rain, when it's easier for them to sort of dig out of the hole in the ground where their mothers put them, so that they keep nice and warm. And I wonder, we've seen smaller crocodiles around this dam on and off, but I wonder if actually this is, because they're always on this island, so I wonder if she lies her eggs here, or if she prefers, so I haven't seen her actually on the banks or sort of the northern side of the dam. So I would imagine she likes that sandy bank there, perhaps on the other side, where it doesn't really get flooded. Doesn't matter how much rain there is. I mean, I think the only time the Chitwa Dam was nearly about to break, I don't know what it was like last year, but I don't think this island was fully submerged, and I think the only time that it was in the flood in 2012. But then those were some crazy floods that we had almost 10 years ago now. Ooh, I'm feeling very young as I say that. Julia, I'm not exactly sure of what the bite force of the Nile crocodile is, but I believe amongst all the leopards around here, I think the Nile crocodile has a bite that is stronger than the one of a hyena. I think out of all of them, they are in the top two, and I think the third one worldwide would possibly be something like the jaguar, if I'm not mistaken. I remember reading about this a while ago, but I would have to double check and tell you the exact number. I don't know exactly what the number would be for them, but let's just say you don't want to be bitten by a crocodile. (3,700 psi is apparently the bite force that Google is kindly letting us know. It would be interesting to find out if I was right and the hyena comes straight after it, or the jaguar. I think the jaguar, I think it's the jaguar, the one in third place in terms of the sort of like the big mammals and predators around this area. Not that, crocodiles are mammals or anything like it. They are probably, though interesting enough, one of the creatures that have been around the longest, pretty much in an untouched form. So you would think that they would have evolved maybe to eat more hippo as well, rather than just fish or trying to hunt the antelope that come down to the water. But it seems like because of the hippo's size, they kind of just let that slide, and then they don't seem too interested. I don't know why, I've always had this, would like to go pet them on the head and then just see what they feel like. Oh, well, seems like from this crocodile, we'll send you guys over to Trishala, which I suspect is lying down just exactly the same way.
Did I hear baby crocodiles? Because I have some stunning babies of myself right here, of my own rather. I'm gonna put Pokey next to these so you can get a size. Look at how tiny these anemones are. And they're everywhere. Every little crevice like this, every little nook that can be filled with water is full of these tiny, tiny anemones. Honestly, this thing is about a centimeter or 2 centimeters a centimeter in diameter. They are tiny, tiny, tiny. And all over the place. They're one of those things where, like, you know, if you see ants in a garden and you notice one and then all of a sudden you see that they're everywhere, that's like these anemones. They're all over the place. I see a whole lot more. Like there's one in here, tiny guy too. Oh, I'm seeing tinier, even tinier ones. So anemones all start off tiny like this, but they are cnidarians, which means that they're related to jellyfish. And what sets them apart from other cnidarians like jellyfish and hydrozoans is that they don't have a medusa phase. So they don't have a phase where they have reproductive or sexually reproductive parts that bud off and then go and reproduce. They don't produce those medusa. So instead, what they do is they can asexually reproduce by budding off. They can even stretch themselves, what's called longitudinal fission, stretch themselves and then break off and have two genetically identical anemones. But then they can also produce sexually, which is probably what this is a result of. Sexually, they will produce eggs and sperm, and then out of the central portion, that mouth, they'll push them out into the water. And then hopefully they'll meet up with the eggs and sperm of other genetically different individuals that will then come together to form a brand new anemone. The reason I'm saying this, now look at that, there's tiny, tiny, tiny ones there. Just a couple millimeters across. Because there's so many in this area, it must have been a spot where many of the egg and sperm have met. Now what they try to do is delay the timing of releasing its own eggs, and then because it's also going to release its own sperm because it's asexual. So it's got both the gametes. So what it will do is release both the eggs and sperm, but time it differently so that maybe you'll get they'll meet up with different organisms doing the different time, or different individuals rather. I'm fighting the wind, guys. All right, there's some adult anemones further down, but we can look at them in a bit.
Hippo mother and her calf haven't really moved too much, but it's still a really beautiful scene, just seeing them standing on that little finger of land, their reflection in the water. The wind is dying down a bit, and those ominous clouds have stopped advancing towards us. I said earlier that there were quite a few different kind of areas on this waterhole where there was a kind of a bunch of activity going on. So we've obviously looked at this little island with the hippos and the cormorants. Just while I've been scanning with my binoculars, I've managed to spot a large crocodile on the other side. And there we go, Owen busy zooming in. See, there's the big Impala ram on the left, and then right in the dead center of your screen, there's a brown, well, looks for all intents and purposes like a log. But have a close look there. See, there's some little black spots on the bottom of it about halfway down. And on the far right, if you look very carefully, you might be able to see the jaws of the crocodile. And it is very far away from us, and I suppose not really much that's close to it to give scale, but looking through the binoculars and having a close look, that is a very, very, very big crocodile. I don't know if you can see well enough because of how far away it is, but looking through my binoculars, I can see the head and how the jaws and some of the features on the face are quite kind of bulbous. And very often with crocodiles, when they get really big, they start to get their jaws, instead of being kind of like long and thin and narrow like they are when they're young, they tend to get all these big fleshy bumps around their mouths. And their eyes start to look smaller and smaller in relation to their head compared, their eyes start to look pretty small in relation to their body size. And this crocodile from here looks absolutely massive. Owen's saying the Impala's playing with fire, going so close to it. But again, we spoke about the disturbed earth with the hippo. And I don't know if you can see, just on the right-hand side of the croc, where there's a whole bunch of... Oh, okay, apparently JP has found a bird for you, so we'll send you across there so he can show you.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We just found a lilac-breasted roller, which is a bird that we don't actually often find in this area. I'm not quite sure why, because they're quite common throughout the rest of the Lowveld. For me, this is probably one of the most beautiful birds, as it's got so many different striking colors. It's also quite an interesting bird in terms of its behavior. Quite often we'll notice that they will aggressively mob larger birds of prey and drive them out of the area. But we also quite often see them that they will actually rob other birds from their food. A behavior which is known as kleptoparasitism. One of the interesting behaviors that I've also noticed over the years is when there's burns that are made in the late winter just before the first rains, they quite often follow these fires. And as a fire comes through the area, a number of insects has been charred. And these guys will simply pick up the barbecue that is left behind. I've also seen this very same behavior with birds such as well, let's get and watch him a little bit longer and see what he gets up to.
Hi, we are Yaku and Milani. We are from Gauteng in South Africa. We started watching WildEarth last year during the level 5 lockdown, and we've been watching ever since.
Being in nature is one of the greatest feelings. We absolutely love it. Our favorite thing about WildEarth is that the concept is so amazing. We have the benefit of having a wildlife safari in the comfort of your home, especially when you're not allowed to go out. Being part of the Wildlife Explorer program gives us a sense of giving back and contributing to nature. It just makes us feel good because we love it so much. We are so excited to be visiting Ngala. It is obviously, I think for most people, an absolute dream to visit the Masai Mara. We can't wait to go.
Thank you very much for this amazing prize, WildEarth.
WildEarth Explorers. It's in your nature.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hades halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
So, even though we have checked here before, we finally managed to find the one lioness that was seen earlier this morning Now where she went from there, we're not too sure, and we must have missed tracks along the way somewhere. She's all on her own near a watering hole. By the looks of it, there's no other lions in the area. And I did see tracks earlier of what I thought was more than one lioness, but it's possible that maybe it was just the same one walking up and down, because she was calling every now and again since we've seen her, and I think it's because she is desperately looking to try and link up with the rest of the pride. The last few days on Ngala has been crazy in terms of the lion world. This pride were all together, and they must have killed a buffalo somewhere far off in the east. And then from there were 4 other males, but 2 newer males that came in. Pauline, what a brilliant sight indeed. So 2 other males came in. They chased the pride off, and these males were not the fathers of this lioness and her brothers and sisters, or the new cubs within the pride, so it was a real threat. And because of that, the pride split up into smaller groups, which has literally been found all over the reserve. And this one happened to be on her own. There's also one of the young lion cubs that's unfortunately it's died because of those males coming in, and now there is only 5 of the young cubs left within the pride. And it's a very windy day, so it's tricky for this lioness to actually be able to find the rest. Watch and wait. To answer your question, this lioness is still a little bit young to mate. She is around 2.5 years of age at this point. And she'll probably only start mating in about a year's time from now. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. So she's still very dependent on the pride. She was moving with her brothers, who split off every now and again from the main portion of the pride, and now, as of late, she's been moving more with the lionesses and away from her young brothers. Now with this wind, as I was saying, this wind would provide her with a real challenge, because it's quite strong. It's also, she's sheltering from the wind down there. But for her to call the rest of the pride would be futile. We know that some of the other members have been found far, far off from here. And I don't think there's any chance that they would hear her, especially not with this wind. But while we sit and wait here to see if she does decide to call again, we'll head over to Cedric at Djuma. We've got a massive animal and a small one.
Look at this very, very small elephant. It just crossed the road in front of us. The mother even gave us a little bit of attitude. Obviously she's a bit protective of the calf. but now it wants to drink. You can see that's a very small elephant, very, very cute. So we found that elephant herd not too far from Garagopan actually. We were making our way north. Just going to let you enjoy a bit. This elephant is so small, like it's quite difficult to see it from where we are. It's very, very cute. I'm happy we found some elephant. I didn't see any elephant this morning. Just going to put the handbrake on quickly, sorry for that. It is not the best visual. They walked a bit into the block there. So when they are born, they can weigh between 90 and 120 kilogram. I'm so happy to see elephants again. Well, fortunately they're not really looking toward us, but it is still nice. It's quite a small herd. There's another one in front of us in the far distance. Julia, you're asking if elephant give birth away from the herd. No, generally they stay in the herd. It is quite a... I never saw it myself, but I saw some videos. Quite a magical moment, as there's all the other female and young elephant around the mother that is giving birth. So it's quite a... look like a bit of a ritual. It is the same when they mate as well. There's lots of excitement in the group. So the gestation period is very long, 22 months. I would love to see an elephant give birth. Must be really, really magical. This one is quite cute. Just so sad they walked far in the block. They crossed right in front of us. The mother came actually quite close to the car. Sending you to Ngala.
And another desperate attempt. She was trying to call the rest, and it's funny to see because the moment the cloud broke and the sun came out, and maybe it's that warmth that prompted her to do so. One might ask, what is she to do? In this case, calling would be the only thing. She knows it's a little bit tough now because it's daytime and, you know, because of the cool weather, the lions might be moving. I think she'll stand her best chance tonight. If the wind dies down a little bit later, might be good. It might help her in her search. She'll be walking around as well. The others will be walking around. And if the wind steadily keeps coming from the direction that it is now, might even be lucky to get some of those lions coming down this way. And then I think it'll be a very, very big meet up and very, very big cause for celebration. So now it must have been, it's almost 2 days now that they've been split up. Found a portion of them quite far off from here, and another portion even further. And the funny thing is, the males that came in and caused all the trouble, they've disappeared back out from where they came from. Now what I found, what's quite interesting is when before this lioness showed up in this area, the portion that she's looking for, I'm sure, which is the portion with most of the adult females and the younger ones, was at this very watering hole. And they have, so it's kind of interesting to see that she does come past this area, and it might be that she's just got a very good idea that this is where, or one of the areas that they might have come past over the last couple of days. It's amazing to see that they kind of move into the areas where they know the others move regularly, or where they usually move regularly. The breeze just picked up again quite a bit, with a little bit of cloud cover coming over as well. You can see she's laying down. She's almost in a dip, trying to shelter from the wind, but the ears are up.
So we are still with our elephants. I can't see the young one now. I'm not sure if they're another visual, but I think they're moving away. I'm just going to let you enjoy. It is quite peaceful spending time with elephants. There's the young one at the back. That mother had only one tusk. Probably broke the other one. She came quite close to us. And I would say about 2 meters from the car, with the ears open. It was quite impressive. But it was a bit red on the tusk, and it looked like blood, but it wasn't blood. Sometimes some bark have a reddish color in it, and I think that was on the tusk. Obviously, if you see an elephant with blood on the tusk, that's not a very good sign. But I'm pretty sure that wasn't blood. Okay, so on our side, I think we will leave them, or maybe reposition a bit forward and see if we can get a better visual. Otherwise, we will carry on and check the buffer shook cut line.
back to andBeyond Phinda. Our patience has paid off, everybody. Have a look at the bird in the middle of your screen there. Look at that gorgeous red beak and the blue back, the orange belly and the little white spots under the chin, the white spot at the back of the neck there. It's a malachite kingfisher. I hope that you can see or get an idea for the lovely colors. It's a little bit gloomy with the clouds overhead. Apparently we're going over to Ngala. Something's going on.
A little bit of a half-hearted attempt there. See, it's almost as if she knows that at this point these calls aren't helping. Here we go. Quiet again. You can see the ears are up. And I find it very interesting to notice that whenever she's calling, those ears are facing forward, almost as if it's helping, pushing out a louder noise. And so watering holes, so there's obviously quite a lot happening around here, and everything is drawing her attention. There's a bit of a grooming going on there. I thought earlier on I had a view of her from up ahead and it looked like I saw some blood there. Egret, what a good question. How far can a lion's call travel? Now that depends on quite a lot of things and factors. On a windy day like today, probably not very far. But it has been stated that a lion's call can travel up to about 8 kilometers, or the human ear can hear it 8 kilometers away. I'm sure on a cool wind-still evening it might travel a lot further than that, or morning. On a day like today, even though it's cool, it's not wind-still, and it's probably not reaching beyond the tree line here, to be honest. It also depends on what lion it is. This is a young lioness, about more or less 2.5 years old. She is not nearly as loud as a territorial male. It will most certainly make this vehicle that I'm sitting on vibrate if it's calling from that distance. Now there's a lot of activity going on here. I know she's just licking her front paw and it looks like there's a scar or two there, but I think there might be some movement. hear some elephants coming from the direction that she's looking at. I thought I heard a young elephant scream there. So there is a lot happening around, even though there's no animals coming down, but also her calling would make everything move away. Kylie, I agree. It was simply incredible. Unbelievably special. And I think with that move, even though it looks like there's small wounds and cuts on the front paws, I think she was also just licking because she might have an urgency now to move. It is getting dark, and once it's darker, she knows that other lions will be moving as well. So I think there might also be a little bit of a worry that maybe they move further away. Here she goes again. And then lay down and wait again. Not too much else to do. Now what I find interesting is whether she will sit here or stay within this area because she knows that they might come back past here, or whether she'll actively continue to go look for them. And what I find even more fascinating is that they were all here the day before yesterday, and so they started moving, but she's been seen nowhere. So this is the first view that we've gotten of her. So I think we might sit here, wait a little while and see if she does get a response eventually.
Every year in August, South Africa marks Women's Month. WildEarth would like to acknowledge and thank all the amazing females who have worked tirelessly to share our nature with the world.
We're gonna have to just wait, okay? She's gonna come out there just on my right-hand side, and she can see these impala.
Now you've got to inhale it. It burns. I don't know if it's supposed to work instantly. Go, girl, go! Get her! Get her, girl! Get her! I'm so looking forward to following her story in the future.
I'm really hoping there's two. I'm really hoping there's two. But you know, even if there's one, oh my goodness, everyone!
And I get to share it with you. Isn't that extra special? I get to experience it and show it to everyone.
we got there, he had probably moved a couple of hundred meters down the river and was about 10 meters from this causeway. So I radioed the lodge quickly and just asked them to bring a land cruiser around and some tow straps. So we thought we were going to try be heroes and save this giraffe. And now a big bull, probably over a ton. He's a big unit. Got the tow strap one side of the giraffe and managed to get it around him with the boat, and the other edge of the tow strap obviously back onto the bank. So we made this U around him because he was lying quite close to the bank. And yeah, we put that land cruise in low range and we just gave it hell and pulled that giraffe, and the tow strap slipped up and we thought, oh no, it's going to slip off the top of the head, and it caught on his ossicones top. And that last 10 meters pulled him out onto the bank, and he battled. He was obviously quite weak and all that.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're busy watching a tree squirrel there in that little natural cavity where a branch has broken off on the knobwood tree. We often have found him over here. Quite often he suns himself on that same branch in the morning, and he's just enjoying the late afternoon sun before he's going to retreat into his little burrow inside the tree for the rest of the night. He's probably a little bit disappointed in the weather, seeing that it's spring day, but it's probably one of the coolest spring days I can recall in the Lowveld. Generally, it's quite a blistering hot day, followed by some cold days, and then a few days later, we're straight into summer. It's actually amazing how quickly the temperatures can rise in this part of the country. Generally, by the first week of September, we're already in the mid-30s, and as it progresses into the summer, it can reach temperatures up to approximately 44 degrees Celsius. I just love the way that this little squirrel is using his tail to rest his head on. He's probably also using it almost like a scarf to keep himself a little bit warmer. Some species of squirrels, they actually will use their tail to also shade themselves. That's also especially with the ground squirrels, which we find at the western half of South Africa. And the word squirrel is actually derived from the Greek word squirus, which means parasol or umbrella, seeing that so many different species do this. In some species, they also use a tail as a mechanism to deflect potential attacks away from the body. Especially with ground squirrel and a number of others, they will use their tail to flick it towards a snake, and the snake will actually strike at the tail and miss the body. Where the tail doesn't have any, where there's no risk that it can be injected with any venom. We're just going to watch our squirrel for a little bit longer and see what he gets up to. Let's go and see what Damon is up to. It's also quite interesting to see how quickly the squirrel is actually focused on the alarm call of the birds in the distance. Amazing how alert they are.
You're back with us at andBeyond Phinda. Unfortunately, our beautiful malachite kingfisher has left its prominent perch. We're still looking at the same log, though, that it was sitting on. And if you look very carefully on the right-hand side of the log, the top side of it, and then also on the left-hand side, you might be able to see two little crocodiles that are, like the hippos earlier, desperately trying to keep warm. See how they're lying on the very top of the log, trying to expose themselves as much as possible to what little sunlight there is. And they've been sitting dead still since we've been here. Look at how those ridged backs and that brown coloration helps them to camouflage against that log superbly. As long as they sit still, the odds of them being detected by a predator are lessened. Of course, little crocodiles that size, far from that massive crocodile that we could see on the other side of the water are pretty vulnerable to attack by quite a few different creatures. Birds of prey, other crocodiles, different kinds of mammalian predators, things like leopards might try and catch them, especially a young leopard that's practicing its hunting skills, or maybe that has just left mum and is busy trying to find its way in the world, surviving by catching smaller creatures where it can. That big crocodile still sitting in the same place as earlier. A very peaceful scene. And the cormorants on the other side in their nests and the trees are getting quieter and quieter as the sun starts to set. The chicks pleading less and less. I'm going to keep quiet for a second, see if you can hear them. It's a lovely shot of a grey-headed gull flying towards us, scanning the surface of the water for any signs of food. But yeah, I hear those kind of like gurgling noises, and then that high-pitched whining. That's all coming from the white-breasted cormorant chicks, those that are still in their nests, still being fed by their parents. Look at how many of them there are. It never ceases to amaze me. You drive past this waterhole, and if you don't look carefully, you miss out on quite a spectacle. That's a lot of cormorants there. Have a look in the middle, kind of middle of your screen, slightly to the right and towards the bottom. See, there's a youngster that's sitting on its nest there, flapping its wings. Oh, and there was a kingfisher just dove into the water there. And now there's a whole flock of egrets arriving there. What's going on there? Just come to the left a bit there, Odie. A bit more to the left. Ah, they've all gone back now. See where there's... Oh, the gulls are going there now too. There must have been like a little bait ball or something there. A whole bunch of little bait fish coming to the surface that got the attention of those little egrets and the pied kingfisher and then the grey-headed gulls. They all flew quickly to that little... or to the base of that dead tree, trying to catch... Oh! Egret flying back across the surface of the water. See, there's some African spoonbills there too, as well as a grey heron. Just a plethora of bird species. We'll all be finishing up with their activities for the day as the sun starts to go down. Those spoonbills, how they're wading through the shallow water. Watch how they sweep their heads from side to side, using those special bills to feel for any potential food. But we've had a lovely time at the waterhole. Lots of crocodiles, hippos, and lots of different kinds of birds. I think Owen and I are going to move on from here and go and see what else we can find for you this afternoon. It seems like the rain is going to come past us, so we'll go exploring a bit.
Oh, really picked up? Oh, had to hold on to my cap there. You obviously heard the hardy-do as well, I'm sure, come back. The hardy come through, sorry, and then wind swept my head. Books all flapping, crazy. And that's why these guys are all stranded here. So we've got two Nidarians. It's being chased by these kelp gulls and an oyster catcher in there. Perhaps a food fight was happening. So here we have two different types of cnidarians. I'm sure there's both you should be familiar with. These guys here is like today, and it's called a by the wind sailor, and you can see why. It's got this big sail here, and that catches the wind and lets them move across the surface of the ocean. Now this organism is actually a collection of organisms. Actually a collection of organisms. Actually a collection of organisms.
Yeah, apologize about that, little technical issue. Yeah, welcome back with us. So, still quite quiet on our side. We did check the northern boundary, but nothing there, no tracks. So now we on Vulture access, making our way back towards quarantine. It is getting a little bit cold now, so hopefully the predators will start moving. Not a great day for predators here today, unfortunately, but everything can change very quickly. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Darkman is around here, because with those trucks that there was there this morning, he must have gone into a block somewhere and just sleep there. So I will try that side again, but we know that he normally likes to start moving a bit later. Yeah, I didn't see any leopard trucks today. It was quite weird. Normally we see quite a lot of leopard trucks, but today no leopard trucks, just those lions truck. Except some leopard trucks actually this morning, but we didn't find it. It's another guide from the lodge that found it. It was one female leopard with a leopard cub, but the trucks went back into Little Gary on that side, and it was actually on Gary Main. But maybe tomorrow, never know. Might come back in that area. Yeah, I think from tomorrow the weather also will get a little bit warmer. But hopefully the predators will still be moving around. I would like also maybe this afternoon see some elephant drinking. That would be nice as well. Yeah, so let's see what we can find in the meantime. You can have a look at the next expedition in the Mara. Enjoy.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. I really hope you enjoyed that little teaser of Amara. It reminded me of a number of amazing bird sightings that I had there. And as we were just looking at red-billed buffalo weavers a while ago, it reminded me of a white-headed buffalo weaver, which we would often find on the Mara. Absolutely a stunning bird with black and white coloration, with a red rump and vent. And unlike ours, it's got black legs and black feet, no red bill and red feet, which is uniform black in color. And meanwhile, we're just going to sit and pan on that little sunset and the surrounding area and see if there's anything that comes in to come and drink. Good afternoon, Vicky. That's one of the things I do really like about this area is the scenery. It is absolutely stunning, and especially so at close to sunset and also at sunrise. There's a few of the places that I really like to go to. A few of them is little rocky outcrops where I often go and open up or close, show, and then the two major dams that we have on the property. Both of these also provide such beautiful sunsets as well as sunrises. But each and every sunset and sunrise is absolutely also totally different. It just depends on the day and the weather that we're experiencing. And these make things also incredibly unique. And with different types of weather also comes in different types of challenges, which also adds to the challenge for us out there in finding animals.
So we decided to stop a little bit, taking a little break from all the driving and enjoy this beautiful sun peeking out through the clouds there. We did drive quite a lot this afternoon, but I wanted to enjoy that beautiful view. And when I mean I wanted to enjoy it, it was obviously to share with you. There's two upset birds on our left hand side. I can hear the grey Galway bird. Might be something there. I don't know if you can hear it. I apologize also if you can hear a loud sound in the background. I think there's a truck or I'm not sure what it is, but we're not too far from the camp now. Okay, so I think we're going to continue here and then check Zoe's road again. Hopefully we'll get some luck there.
The wind is hectic. I'm sure you can hear and see that. But I'm just giving you guys a lovely view of the ocean and the waves, and it does look a bit rough at the moment, but it also looks powerful and strong and solid. And those are feelings that I really enjoy taking away from the ocean, or sharing with the ocean rather. And I just wanted to give you a few minutes of that. Anyway, HH said that they love the sound of the ocean, so here's a few moments to absorb all this goodness, immerse yourself, and listen to hopefully the waves, not so much of the wind. I see some birds just flying off there. I can't see what they are at all. Beautiful white birds. There's some cormorants that are going to fly by too. The sun is definitely getting lower and lower in the sky. So the birds are finding a place to settle in for the evening. Oh, stunning, stunning, stunning. I feel a little manhandled by the wind at the moment. And Jason's doing an amazing job of staying still at the edge there to bring you these wonderful visuals. Anyway, I think I'm going to send you over to Damon and Phinda, and we might find a spot that's a little bit more sheltered, if there is one.
Well, good luck with that, Trishala. You're back with us here at andBeyond Phinda, and Owen and I are busy driving through kind of these clearings in between patches of dense thicket. And often this time of the year, with the winter months here, this time of the afternoon, late in the afternoon, we often get groups of white rhinos that'll come out of the thickets where they've been resting for the day to come out onto these little patches of grassland to graze. And have a look on the road here in front of me. Both wheel tracks. There's two sets of tracks, one on each side, and they're both heading this way. And have a close look just over here. I'm not sure how well you can see. See these tracks just here in front of me. It's the same man that's made the tracks on that side, but just a different individual. See at the front here, there's 1, 2, 3 toes, and then a big pad at the back with big W. So that tells us that this was made by a white rhino. And it looks like 2 different white rhinos that have come out of the thickets somewhere behind us and have then moved heading towards the more open clearings. So I think we're going to head in that direction, follow these tracks to see if we can't find them. One thing though that I've noticed before we get going is that, I don't know if you can see, have a close look here on top of the track, but there's lots of little indentations, almost like little pores in the track. And it's from the rain that's been falling, little drizzles that have been falling. And we know that the rain last fell probably about an hour and a half ago. Excuse me. And so we know that these tracks are from before that because the rain has fallen on top of those tracks. That being said, though, we know, like we said, this time of the year, the rhinos come out and feed in the grasslands here. There's a good chance that they've headed from here, from the thickets, out towards those clearings to feed. So let's get going and let's see if we can find those rhinos. While we do that though, let's send you back across to Djuma to see what Cedric's up to.
Yeah, so we on this road and we just found some fresh leopard tracks. Talking that we didn't see lots of leopard tracks, so that was nice to see. The last track I got on my side was at the back there. These tracks is quite fresh, and I think the last one I got goes left into that block. So now we are a bit on the leopard mission. There is a little pathway there for animals. I'm not sure if it did. Maybe let's try again a little bit in front and see, maybe it walked next to the road and came back into the road. It would be very, very nice to find a leopard now. But as usual, it's not that easy. So you need to have luck, be at the right place at the right time. Lorna, you're asking for how long do animal tracks last on the ground? It all depends of the weather. There's a lot of factors that come into play, like if it's windy, it's not going to last very long. If there's rain after the tracks as well, it's not going to last very long. So it all depends on the type of soil and the weather as well. So I don't have a definite time frame for you. But yeah, so these tracks now, we could see it was on top of this morning tracks, so it is very fresh, and it is a bit windy today, but still the track, you can see the track very, very well. But to answer your question, yeah, it all depends on certain conditions. I think I might have to turn around here. I don't see any tracks, and the last one I saw, it was looking in a different direction. And just try a little bit further ahead, and then we'll turn around and go check again. Darren also is looking everywhere. It's so nice, like it gets a bit quiet and then you found some fresh tracks. Always nice to wake up and try to see and listen and check everywhere. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn around here. No more tracks on this road. Okay, so I think we're going back to our tracks. In the meantime, we're sending you with a large animal grazing.
A large animal indeed here at andBeyond Phinda, but not the large animal that we've been following tracks of. The tracks of these white rhinos still go down the road in front of us, but as we came out into this clearing, we spotted this elephant bull emerging from the thickets on the other side. And look at how he's kind of slowly moving around. Look at that trunk of his and how he's reaching down into the grass and smelling. It doesn't look like... Did you see his trunk was in the grass there, but he didn't bring anything up with it to his mouth. So I think he's busy following the scent of something. See that trunk and how the tip of it is kind of snaking around. Busy carefully smelling. It may be that another animal has walked there, maybe another elephant has walked there, and he's busy following its scent. Or maybe it's food that he's after and he's trying to sniff out the tastiest morsels to feed on. There we go, going up to that guari thicket there. And using his trunk to clean. Looked like he was trying to clean his eye on the other side there. Now resting that big heavy trunk across his tusk. I don't know if you noticed when he was facing us earlier, he had quite a distinctive left ear, which you can't see now. I'm hoping that he turns around to face towards us. But a really big tear in his left ear. Quite a distinguishing feature of this particular elephant bull. So have a look at him, everybody. Look at the size of his body. He looks quite big and muscular, but still pretty small, thin tusks. But he seems to be quite big and stocky. Oh, now moving into the thicket. Onela, you're asking if there are any tuskers on Phinda. Onela, there absolutely are. There's 2 bulls that have got really, really impressive ivory. I'm not sure of the exact weight of the tusks. Obviously, you need to have the tusks out of the elephant to be able to weigh them. And normally, big tuskers are referred to, or elephants that have tusks bigger than 45 kilograms a piece, or 100 pounds a piece, are the elephants that are referred to as big tuskers. But there are 2 bulls that have got tusks that are incredibly beautiful and super long, and that sweep down towards the ground. And 1 or 2 other bulls that are kind of up and coming. There's a couple of younger bulls that are in their 20s, and they've really got pretty impressive ivory for being that young. There's also a bull in his 30s that also give him another 10 years or so, and those tusks are really going to be impressive. There is another vehicle approaching us already. We're just going to move out of their way, let them come past. And it looks like that elephant has moved off. Yeah, let's get out the way of this other vehicle quickly. Yeah, we're going to get back onto the tracks of those rhinos. The elephant has moved off. So hopefully when you come back to us, we'll have some more, or have an update for you on how the tracking is going.
Calling all WildEarth explorers, we have a new and frankly awesome travel prize for you to win. andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve encompasses an impressive 28,000 hectares of protected wildlife land in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. As you have seen on WildEarth, andBeyond Phinda showcases one of the continent's finest game viewing experiences and is well known for close-up sightings of the elegant yet elusive cheetah, as well as the rare black rhino. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the 16th of September, and you and a friend could be heading to the magnificent Phinda Mountain Lodge, where you will spend 3 nights escaping the real world at this ultimate safari location. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
Competitors are in the room behind me right now for the birding challenge, where they have to look at pictures and identify the birds and then separately listen to bird calls and identify them. But it's not easy. This is going to be the toughest one. Here we have the previous year's winners. You can see they're trying to see if they can remember all the answers, and look at them taking a sneak peek.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we were very excited to have found all of the impala that live on Djuma, but believe it or not, as soon as they knew that they were going to be put on camera, then of course they started walking behind the trees. So I'm going to try to get a little bit closer and see if perhaps we can have a better look at them. The fact that they are the most common animal or mammal that we've got around the area, So I'm just going to try and approach just so we can have a look at them, because they are beautiful. They really are. Though they end up featuring on the menu for many different species. All right, I'm going to stop here, and then hopefully they'll stick around, as we've been searching endlessly for sort of tracks, animals, anything we can see, and then it's been quite dire out there. The only thing we saw was a herd of elephants, and it's almost like they knew, and when they saw us, they ran. They ran away from us into a property we couldn't go to. But at least, thankfully, the Impala are pretty chilled. I think there is an open area not too far from here, and they tend to sleep in open areas. So I think they're slowly making their way in that direction. If they sleep in the open area, there's less chance of any predators surprising them throughout the night. So very clever creatures. They know what they're doing. Around here, just looking at the general composition, so if you see the ones on the left, you'll see a lot of them have got horns. Those are all the males. And then you'll see the ones on the right, or scattered amongst the males, without horns, and those are the females. Now, it's not uncommon to see big groups of impalas together, but generally the females tend to be maybe with a dominant male, and then just group of females, and then the males, they tend to be in group of males. At this time of the year, though, because you're not in the mating season, there's quite a lot of tolerance in between them. So they just come around and then they hang out together, especially in feeding grounds like this one. They all seem to be enjoying some grass for the evening. Vegetarian dinner today. There you go, there's a male, there's another one. Oh, the one on the left seems to have, we spotted it from a distance, seems to have a bit of a strange growth on his horn. Heather, of the antelope around in this area, I think it depends how you consider them, but I would suppose that the kudus one are the ones that can grow the longest. Perhaps not in a straight line, but if you measure them from the tip of the, or from the base of the head to the tip of the, what's the word? Horns, then I'm sure they're the ones with the longest ones. And the waterbuck can also have very impressive sort of like straight horns. The horns can tell you actually a lot about an animal, especially in some areas, particularly if you go maybe towards the Kalahari, where the soils are leached of nutrients, and there aren't too many of those. And you see often if you go to a game reserve, they'll have this big salt lake, so almost like a big cube of salt and phosphorus and minerals, because the animals don't find that all that much in their natural environment. So by supplementing their diet, then you'll see that their horns might have less deformities. If you go, I'm sure if you've gone to, or if you've seen photos of the Kalahari or the Kalahari National Park, Transfrontier Park, nowadays, then you'll see that it's not uncommon to see oryx or springbok with, funny looking horns that are not growing in the right shape. So a lot of the times that is due to a deficiency of some sort of mineral. In the case of this one over here that we were looking at, that one on the left, I don't think it's a deficiency of any sorts, but it almost seems like it's just growing the wrong way. It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it. It's just maybe it hit its head when it was little somehow, and then the horn just is growing in a bit of a different direction. Because I think if we were able to get closer, then we would see that they are both of the same length. Seems like Trishella is having a wonderful time in Cape Town. We would like to know what the weather is like in Cape Town, because if it's really bad, then we're going to send Morgan back.
With Ali, I love being by the sea and playing around, or at least around the rock pools, and looking into the rock pools is some of my favorite things to do. And here, I wonder if you can see what that is. It's not just a collection of shells, it's a sea urchin, a Cape sea urchin that is using the shells as a sunshade. They do that very, very often, especially when they're stranded in these shallower rock pools that are not fully submerged and not submerged a lot of the time, because that means that they're exposed to the sun quite a lot, and too much sun can cause desiccation. It cause them to dry out, it can cause them to get too warm, all things they don't want. So they often pull shells over themselves. In fact, all of the sea urchins I can see at the moment around us have shells over them. Only the ones really, like, you know, shaded by the rock face or in a little crevice don't have shells in them. Very, very cool. I love sea urchins. They have the most beautiful ornate calcium carbonate skeleton that you often find on the beaches that show you what the pattern of spines really look like. Now they're echinoderms, which means that they're closely related to sea stars and sea cucumbers. All of those having a ridge or spine of some sort, whether it's modified or not in the case of sea urchins, on their dermis or their skin. Echinoderm. Now sea urchins are grazers, which you don't often look at a sea urchin and think, oh, you're a grazer, but in fact they are. So you'll find that they'll move very slowly along surfaces, scraping up algae, algal spores. They're one of the few quote-unquote herbivores. I always say it's very difficult to truly be a herbivore in the ocean, especially if you're something that scrapes surfaces to eat, because when you do that, you often will get spores of non-plant material that you scrape up too. But you'll find that sea urchins, particularly where they're abundant, you don't get too much actual big algal growth, because the spores get sucked up, or rather scraped off, quite a lot. And then once algae grows to a certain point, just a couple centimeters, if it manages to survive to that, then it's immune to the attacks of the sea urchin. So in really large kelp beds, there's a nice dynamic that you're able to watch between sea urchins and the kelp, because obviously they have this relationship, you know, too many urchins, not enough kelp growing, too much kelp, not enough space for the urchins, and the kelp swinging around sometimes won't allow sea urchins to settle. So it's a beautiful thing to watch. Well, I see something else very interesting, and I'm going to send you over to Damon in Phinda while we set up for this next little bit.
Owen, and my tracking mission has come to an end, everybody. Have a look in the long grass there, just in front of that big tree. Can you all see those ears wiggling around in the long grass and the big grey shapes? We've managed to find the rhinos, everybody. And it's not just the two that we were tracking initially. It seems that an additional 3 have joined up with the 2 that we were tracking. There's no less than 5 white rhinos, all lying down, not quite in a circle, but in a bit of a bunch in the long grass there, just taking it easy. Look at those ears and how they're swiveling around in all different directions, listening out to their surroundings, shaking the flies away. Just off to the left, there's a herd of wildebeest that are busy grazing their way in the direction of the rhinos. It's one of the most wonderful things about this part of the reserve at this time of the year is, even though the grass looks pretty dry, it seems to attract a lot of grazing animals. We often see herds of wildebeest, herds of zebra, impala. In the evenings, and Ngala sometimes come out into these clearings, and then of course the white rhinos. And they all come here to feed. And I mean, look at those wildebeest. Their heads are down at the ground, and they're moving around quite a bit. It's obviously a really good food source there for them. That one on the left, just watching us to see what we're doing. See, there's a bit of a younger one there as well, walking towards it with his bright orange forehead and its shorter horns. No doubt one of the youngsters from last year. And we should start to see in amongst the female wildebeest signs of their pregnancy starting to look more and more round as they get closer to their birthing season in December. Faith, you're asking if both species of rhino have the same looking tracks. And to answer that question, I'm going to get my tracks and signs book out to show to you, because both species of rhino have similar looking tracks, but not quite the same. They're very subtle differences that are not easy to see always, but they're definitely there. So have a look here. I've got my little tracks and signs book out. So we'll start with the white rhino, which is the one that we're busy looking at. So these are the tracks we were following earlier. And one of the things, well, firstly to look at is the size of a white rhino track. So on average, will depend on whether it's a male or a female, but about 30 centimeters long, so a really big foot. And then see how at the bottom of the foot there's a kind of a W shape at where the heel of the track is. So there's obviously the 3 toes, so the animal's walking in that direction, and at the heel, if you will, of the foot there's a W. And then also have a look at how the side toes are quite close to the top toe. There's only a very short little space between the side toes and then that front toe. So that's the white rhino. Then the black rhino, I'm just going to turn the page. The black rhino's track is quite a bit smaller. So see 23 centimeters, 24 centimeters. Obviously a young white rhino's track will also be a bit smaller. But look at how the back of the foot there's not that same pronounced W. So a much shallower W. Still the same 3 toes, one on the front, one on either side. But then look how there's a much bigger space between those side toes and that front toe there. So very subtle differences that are not always easy to see out in the field. Sometimes the rhinos don't make their footprints look exactly like they look in the book, but with practice and using, or just looking carefully and kind of putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, you can normally figure out which is which. But I'm glad that we managed to find those rhinos. Quite fun to have followed their tracks from as far as we did. But they've obviously had a pretty good feeding session, that they are lying down and sitting pretty still. I think Owen and I will spend a little bit more time here with them, just because we've been following their tracks for a bit. So yeah, when you come back to us, we'll see if they're doing anything different.
Well, we've decided to stick around with the impala. They are clever creatures, and most predators tend to come to them. So we thought we'd try the reverse strategy, and instead of us looking for all the lions and the leopards, maybe they would have come to us. Not to us directly, but maybe they would have been interested in impala. But I suspect a lot of the leopards around the area are already eating something, and this is why they might not be too interested. If you look at those impala, those females that we're looking at over there, they're looking quite beautiful and round. So baby season is not too far away from now. Normally, the impalas, as I was saying, they mate seasonally, so they tend to give birth roughly when the rainy season begins. So this is around about October, December. We'll see if November. We'll see if this year maybe the babies will arrive early, because it is actually very cool to see the plains full of little baby impala that look more like legs than anything else. They've got this very long legs and big ears, and they are incredibly cute to watch and then spend some time with them. And then, unfortunately, a lot of predators do like to come and help themselves to a few impala lambs around the season. I think Tandi and Tlalamba have been known to collect impala lambs on trees. And then, well, of course, wild dogs obviously enjoy them too. And owls, pythons, all sorts of other predators around. But for the time being, they're still safely tucked away in their mom's stomachs. I know there are some stories around that say that impalas can withhold their birth or just, decide not to give birth or to give birth later if the season hasn't been good. Please don't repeat these things. This is a lie. It's not true. They'll give birth when they're ready. They cannot decide actively when they want to give birth. He will perhaps be one of the fathers for next year. Not too sure. The rutting season should start again next year in May. So for now, the boys don't have too much to worry about.
Yeah, so it's getting a little bit darker here. We are still driving. So following these tracks, so we did check Rebecca's road all the way to Philemon Cut Lines. Didn't see any truck going out there. And we came back from the other side of Zoe's road. So we did a big loop now, but I think it's worth it to keep in that area for the rest of the afternoon drive, because these tracks was very, very fresh. What I'm doing now is trying to go check quickly Impala plains as well. Never know, maybe it went in the other direction. It's nice and open there, we can have a quick look. Otherwise we will come back around Zoe's road and Rebecca's road and maybe do another loop. I do believe it is worth it to try again because the tracks was very, very fresh. It's sometimes not easy when they decide to cross into a block. Obviously the easier thing would be if they can walk on the road. That's the best, but it doesn't happen. Okay, so I will check around here. Hopefully we'll be lucky. In the meantime, we'll send you to Damon with his white rhinos.
Owen and I are still sitting with these 5 sleeping white rhinos, and they haven't done too much moving apart from those lovely ears of theirs wiggling around as they listen to the sounds around them. Completely ignored the wildebeest walking past. One of them lifted its head momentarily to look towards us, but otherwise they're sleeping pretty peacefully. Something that I noticed while we were driving in this direction following those tracks is that there were a couple of stages where the tracks left the road to go into a thicket and then came back onto the road, and then we'd lose them and find them on the next road. And as we were getting closer and closer to this area, we saw that the tracks were then on top of the rain. So the rhinos may have moved a little bit into the thickets to get out the rain, and then when the rain stopped, that then may have been the time when they then decided to come back out and move into this clearing. And the fact that they're resting at this time of the day, normally this is a time when, because of how nice and cool it is, the sun's not too harsh, not too intense. It's normally a time of day when white rhinos do quite a bit of their feeding. And these ones obviously resting means that they've probably had a pretty good feeding bout already. Might also be that they are preparing for what might not be that cold of a night compared to the temperatures we've had over the last couple of days. We've had a couple of pretty clear, well, firstly, a cold front a couple of days ago that brought very, very, very cold wind and a bit of rain. And then a couple of cloudless days thereafter, and with the lack of clouds meant very cold nights. And typically rhinos can be quite sensitive to those kind of temperatures, and they'll normally go and tuck themselves away in a dense area to try and keep out of the cold. But tonight, it's not that cold, and there's quite a bit of cloud cover overhead, so those clouds should trap in a bit of the heat. And that might be why the rhinos are resting now, knowing that they should be able to feed quite comfortably later into the night. That middle one look at that one. It's almost like 2 rabbit ears sticking out of the long grass listening in our direction. Jenny, you're asking if the rhinos, excuse me, will sleep throughout the night. I doubt it, Jenny. Rhinos do, very different to animals like elephants, which only sleep for very short amounts of time. White rhinos do normally get quite a bit of sleep throughout the day or at night. And so, no, I think they'll rest there for a bit longer, but I wouldn't be surprised if a bit later they stand up and graze their way back towards the denser areas when it gets a bit colder. Probably do a bit more feeding, and then, yeah, probably settle down again in the early hours of the morning. And maybe even if they haven't done so already, again, winter time, when it's quite dry, very often in the evenings around this time is when rhinos, well, white rhinos, will go down to water to go and drink. And if they haven't done so already, I mean, looking at their tracks, it doesn't seem like they've visited water. So they may still from here go down for a drink. There's a waterhole on the other side of that big tree behind them. And often in the mornings, we see lots and lots of white rhino tracks around there, sometimes black rhino tracks too. So obviously a site that the rhinos in this area use a lot. And maybe that's going to be their next move, is to go and drink. But no, there's been a bit of rain. It hasn't really been enough that it's been kind of a drizzle more than rain. So it hasn't left any pools of water for the rhinos where they'd be able to drink from a puddle. So I would imagine they would probably still want to go and have a drink anyway. Gechigumi, you're asking how fast a rhino can run. Gechigumi apparently about 40 to 45 kilometers an hour. So I think that's in miles an hour. I think it's up to about 30 miles an hour. So pretty fast for quite a big animal that, unless you've seen one move, you would probably imagine is quite a cumbersome creature. But they're amazingly light on their feet. They can turn around in an instant. In fact, the other night I was lucky enough to watch a big white rhino bull out on a territorial patrol, and a group of lionesses found him and started to stalk him. Obviously, a big white rhino bull is much too big for, well, if he's in his prime and he's healthy, he's much too big to be troubled by 3 lionesses. So it was more for a bit of fun and games from the lion's side of things, and they would stalk up behind him and then tap him on the back of his ankle. And he would turn around and have a go at them, and it was unbelievable to see how fast he reacted. He spun around a complete 360 in the blink of an eye and sent the lionesses packing. And then as he chased one, the other lioness would go up behind him and then again kind of creep up to him and see if she could try and pat him on his back or pat him on the back of his leg. But eventually they got tired of the game. And it was amazing to see the rhino was completely unperturbed. Like, he would ignore them unless they touched him. If they touched him, he would turn around again in a flash. You cannot believe how fast and how nimble they can be when they want to. But yeah, the lionesses realized that he was on a serious mission and he wasn't up for their nonsense. And pretty soon afterwards, they gave up. Yeah, starting to get... Yeah, there's the wildebeest, still grazing slowly towards us. Starting to get quite dark here. And with the falling of night, it's the time of day when a lot of the bigger predators start to become a bit more active. Lions, hyenas, leopard all tend to be mainly active at night. And these wildebeest will want to be moving themselves away from any dense area where they can be ambushed. So heading out into the grassland here not only provides them with food, but also with a safe place to rest for the night. And that's why they'll be moving out away from those thickets to a place where they can see all around them, keep a good vigil, and give themselves the best possible chance of avoiding attack by a predator in the dark. So, lovely to have found the rhinos eventually, but I think Owen and I are going to leave them for now. It's getting dark, so we're going to start driving around through these woodlands here in search of any nocturnal creatures. Maybe if we're lucky, some hyenas. Yeah, so we're going to leave the rhinos, carry on down this road, and we'll see what we can find for you.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Shaun probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we are on Zoe's road, heading towards quarantine. Just want to check that side because of the two birds that I heard earlier when we drove quite close to quarantine. Maybe that leopard made a U-turn and went back in that direction. That'd be great to find a leopard to end the show. Yeah, I think I'll try this one. We did drive that road already, but the trucks crossing into the block might have then come around that road, so it's good to check again. Oh, we're trying our best. If we don't find it, that will be fine, but another day tomorrow. Landely, you're asking which leopard I was first in the Sabi sand? No, I don't remember. But with Djuma, since I started at Djuma and with WildEarth, my first leopard sighting was Kara. Actually, it was on my first morning, and she had a kill in a tree. But the hyenas actually stole the kill because the kill fell out of a tree. Yeah, so the fourth, since I'm here with WildEarth, would be Kara. The second one was Tavangumi, where I got a very nice sighting with him. He just stopped right next to me, like I could basically touch it. Obviously, I didn't do that. Yeah, so apart from that, I saw Tingana, Tlalomba, Maribs, Semba. So I did saw quite a few individual, well, the different characters since I started. But obviously, there's still much more to see. One leopard that I used to like in the Kruger Park, he was going quite often in the Kruger Park and in the Sabi Sand, a bit more south from here, was Vin Diesel. He was a very, very big leopard. He was very nice as well. He's not with us anymore, unfortunately. And then another one was the treehouse male. that I saw also in the Sabi sands, also unfortunately passed away. Yeah, spending time with leopard is always awesome. But if we saw them every day, it would have been a, a different story. So it's always nice to have the anticipation, looking for the animals, and if you can find it and then spend time with it. It's a whole process. It's like impalas. Impalas, there's so many of them and they're everywhere, is that we stop sometime to look how beautiful they are. They are always clean, always beautiful, but because there's so many of them, we get a bit, yeah, we don't really care anymore, but they are quite nice animals. Okay, so we continue around quarantine now. We will send you to Ali, who would like to share as well which leopard she saw the first time in the Sabi sand.
Well, if I must be completely honest, I think my very first leopard sighting ever was one that many South Africans will feel deeply in their hearts, because it was just a tiny little tail hanging from a tree about 5 million kilometers away from where I was in the Kruger National Park. So that was the very first leopard I remember ever seeing, in the wild at least. But in the Sabi sand, I'm not sure. I was just saying to Morgan earlier, I used to work in the southern Sabi sand. That's where I started, at a very beautiful area called Lion Sands. And there used to be a female called the Wilson Span female, who was the mother of the Scotia female. Beautiful female. And I can't remember which of the two it was that we saw first. I have a suspicion it might have been Scotia, because the sightings of her were more frequent. She was a more relaxed female than her mom, the Wilson Span female. But I think it might have been then. I was actually saying to Morgan earlier on that today I had one of those Facebook memories come up on my phone, and it was in 2014 where this female, the Scotia female, we were following her the one morning, and we knew she had a den in an area, and we were following her to this area, and then she got to the den and there was a male at the den as well. So now we're stressing that, you know, maybe something's gonna happen. We didn't know for sure if the den was there or not. And then she sort of greeted the male, because they had been mating, so at least they knew one another. And she started chuffing, making that sort of noise that leopards do when they're trying to speak to, you know, other leopards, particularly mothers to cubs. And then all of a sudden, these two little bundles of fluff came out, and then they started just playing with the male, following him around, staying with the female. I think my heart dropped that day. It was one of the best sightings that I've ever had, because also the den was in this beautiful like rock, and then they were just playing on top of the rock. Oh my god, it was very unbelievable. It was beautiful. I really loved it. I think that was funny enough that all things are connected. I was thinking about that leopard today. On the funny side of things though, while we were with the Impala earlier, and we were kind of hoping that we would have a leopard pop up, or maybe we could hear dark mane roar, we started driving and we bumped into Cedric, but Cedric was in a bit of a distance. And then we got excited, like, yay, friends, we can ask him about the leopard that he's been looking for. And Cedric just turned around the car and sped away from us, like, trunk. So we considered for a while just to, you know, go behind them and stalk them, see if they could pick us up again, see how far we could get, and play a bit of a game of cat and mouse, where us, of course, we would be the leopards or the lions. But then we came onto Rebecca's, which is sort of the direction or the area roughly where Darkmane could have come. So we decided then to be serious and then just give this area one last try for the day, see if maybe Darkmane has actually come up here. So we were switched off for a little while, just listening. A lot of the times when you just sit and you take it easy, the sounds around you can tell you a lot about what's happening. Perhaps an alarm call, or birds doing something, or, you know, other big mammals moving about. But in this case, there was nothing. So we've
Yeah, sorry about that. As you know, we're reporting live from the bush. Some little technical issues can happen. So we drove around quarantine and not much. I think I will go down there and try Twin Dam Road again and drive towards maybe Gary Dam. I'm not sure where Ali is. I would like maybe to go try that area. It is nice to drive at night. I quite enjoy it because you're doing so many things, like a little scrubby. Just cross the road there. Yeah, so you, with the spotlight, you're looking everywhere, you're driving. So it makes you do a bit more things, which is nice because you concentrate a bit more. Not much happening here as well. It is very sad for that leopard because the tracks was very, very fresh. Maybe someone else will find it a bit later. But sometimes you look for a leopard and you found something else which is nice as well. Timothy, I'm not sure if I got that question right. You're asking what was the rarest track, weirdest track that I saw on drive. Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like there's so many tracks. I didn't see aardvark tracks though, that would be nice to see. But normally we tend, well, when we are driving like that, it's a little bit more difficult to look at tracks than compared to when you walk. So we tend to focus mainly on elephants, buffalo, lions, leopard. Yeah, so there's so many tracks. But I'm not sure which one, if I got the question right, the weirdest track I saw. Aardvark tracks was quite nice, it's quite weird, like you see three toes like that. They have very long toes and nails. I didn't see any aardvark track here. I see it quite often at home, but they are very rare to see. Oh, we did quite a lot of driving this afternoon, but it was nice. Okay, so while we look for more trucks on the road and see if we can find anything, please have a look at the next beautiful expedition in the Masai Mara.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
Well, reports from the dam cam are that there's potentially a herd of buffalo there, so I think Cedric is closer to the area than us, but that makes me excited because if the buffalo are back on the dam, then maybe dark mane will be lured into going towards the dam and the Talamatis will come back from Manyaleti and we're gonna have lion galore tomorrow morning. That is my hope. Please, lions, don't disappoint. You guys owe us for the day. We gave you a day off. And then hopefully tomorrow they'll be back around. We're just still sort of circling the area where we think maybe dark mane could come, but I'm slowly losing hope. It's been a day of feeling like a shark, you know. We've been just da-dum, da-dum, around all of the possible roads and in the block and everything else, but no, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. I suppose that is what makes an African safari special. You don't do it on your own time. You do it in nature's pace, and you can try and enhance your chances of seeing things, but it's always good reminder when you do. Rami, lions can come out at any moment. I mean, they do move during the day, a fair amount. They do, however, rest during the hotter part of the day, so they wouldn't normally move between sort of, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning until like maybe 7 o'clock in the evening on a hot summer's day. In general. However, there are always exceptions to every rule, and I have personally seen lions hunting a varied number of creatures at sort of 11, 12 o'clock in the summertime. So it's got to be a mix of all, you know, opportunity. If an opportunity presents itself, even if it's hot and, you know, and they're hungry, they might actually take it. And if they're feeling pretty full or tired, then they might just not be interested in it at all. So also reports from the radio is that it seems like there was a hyena close to Buffelshoek Dam eating the remains of a kill. So the people that were with the hyena had a suspicion that maybe it stole it from somebody else. And I know that Lalamba used to hang around that area, so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if Thandi hangs around that area anymore. I'm gonna have to get some insight from Tristan, see what he or who he thinks it might be. I suspect one of the T's though, and that the hyenas just came and then stole the kill.
So we made our way to Karoo Dam, and there's a big herd of buffaloes. They were currently drinking. So it looked like it's like a buffalo day for us. And it's so nice to bump into a big herd of buffalo like that. It is a little bit far, so the visual is not great. And we did put the infrared on, obviously. Looks like we want to make the way back up. So if we continue moving in that direction, we might go around the dam and go on Mvubu Road there to get a better visual. I really like this last minute surprise. I'm just going to stay quiet and let you enjoy a bit. Now this is the time of night, also you start hearing the owls. I can hear in the background a Scops owl, which is one of my favorite owls actually. But they are quite difficult to spot. They are very tiny and they camouflage very well. Beautiful, really nice to see them next to the dam like that.
You're back with us at andBeyond Phinda, and Owen and I have decided to head towards one of the active hyena den sites on the reserve. And have a look on your screen there. Can you see on the far left there's a set of eyes shining back at us? That's a hyena there looking towards us. Then in the foreground there's another, what appears to be two hyenas. See on the right hand side of the bush there's a big thick neck of an adult. And then on the left-hand side is quite a dark body, and I think from here, it looks like one of the cubs, busy suckling from its mother. And then on the right, there's another hyena there, just in the bottom right of the screen, with its head resting on the ground. I know not the best view for now, but when we got here, one of the cubs was quite close to where we're now parked. It moved off back down into its burrow. And I'm hoping that as we sit here, it might maybe come out to investigate us. Now you'll notice that the screen is all green. And, oh, there it is, it's come out, yes! There's the little cub. So you'll notice that the screen is all in green. And the reason for that is, well, those of you who've been watching the show for a while, you'll know we go into infrared once the sun goes down and it gets too dark to see. So right now, I can see nothing except for looking at the screen. It's a very, very, very dark night, cloudy, no moon in the sky. Oh, sorry, it's black and white. It looks. Sorry, apparently the screen is not green on your screens at home. The screen is green on my presenter's monitor, but black and white on your screens at home. So, yeah, the reason for that is that it's an infrared light. So the animals can't see it, we can't see it. Only the camera can detect it. So there's no light that's being, or no visible light that's being shone, or no visible light to our eyes, or the eyes of the hyena that's being shone onto this hyena. Normally we don't shine lights on hyena cubs around dens because it potentially makes them vulnerable. But as long as there's no light on them, it's all good. But anyway, look at this little hyena, how it's busy sniffing around at the entrance to its burrow. And where it came out of, if we look a little bit off to the left, you'll see there's the big burrow that I was speaking about. There, it's going towards it. See down there, off to the right of where the hyena's standing. That's a big burrow that has been dug by an aardvark a little while ago, and since vacated by the aardvark. And this clan of hyenas has moved in and taken over the burrow. So we saw that cub earlier that was suckling from its mother. And then there's this one, and there should be a third cub here. There's two different litters of cubs, one that consists of two cubs and then one that consists of one. So two different adult females that have given birth around this den. And the two cubs slightly older. See how this one's lost most of the charcoal coloration on its lower body? Striped horse, you're asking how many hours a day a hyena sleeps for. Striped horse, that's a good question, and I've never read anything that's given a concrete answer to that. But striped horse here at andBeyond Phinda, because the hyenas here are mainly, or basically strictly nocturnal, they only really move around at night. And for a very few or very brief period at the start of the morning. So yeah, they're active throughout the night, and the rest of the day they'll spend resting. So pretty much from kind of 6:30 in the morning until, well, kind of now, 6:30 in the evening, they spend resting. How much of that time is spent sleeping, though, is tough to know. And then basically throughout the night, they'll be moving around their territory, hunting, looking for opportunities to scavenge as well, patrolling their territory, scent marking. I've also seen them sometimes, especially later on in the night, when we've been out really late, sometimes come across hyenas lying down and taking a bit of time out to rest, especially if they've got a full belly, if they've already done quite a bit of moving. See, that cub is now on the other side of that stick there, and there might be, I think there's actually another burrow entrance there. So all around us there's quite a few different burrows that have been dug by these aardvarks. And the hyena cubs have kind of got free reign of all the different burrows. we go. The one has just stood up, one adult. Was about to stand up. There we go, lifting itself up. Hopefully it comes this way, maybe to come and greet one of the cubs. Coming to greet the other adults. And we're going to listen out carefully because both of those hyenas, they see how lanky they look. Oh, there's a bit of an aggressive lunge there from the hyena that's lying down. Listen. Can you hear that giggling sound? There's like a very faint giggling sound coming from the cub. Maybe voicing its displeasure at having the adult hyena disrupt its suckling bout. Now, it's a bit tough to see from here, but that hyena that's standing looks to be quite lanky, quite skinny. It's got quite a thin neck compared to the one that's lying down. I think the one that's lying down is a really big female. That is the mother of, we think, the mother of the two older cubs of these two litters. And she, just based on her size, and based on watching her interactions with the other hyenas that come to this den, she seems to be the dominant female, the alpha female. But how incredible is this? So special to be able to share this with all of you. It's not often that we're able to come here. So I think Owen and I might spend a little bit longer here.
My name is Nomfundo Ndlovu and I'm the Senior Project Manager for the WISA Schools and Youth Unit. I'm a qualified horticulturalist. I'm particularly passionate about supporting schools towards working through their sustainability journey and towards food sovereignty through our food gardening projects. A typical day in my work involves me overseeing our national projects and creating an enabling environment for schools to thrive and succeed in working towards self-reliance and sustainability, and really ensuring that no school gets left behind.
For me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at. Almost like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive. One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to the hyena den here at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Owen and I are still sitting and watching, Owen through his viewfinder on the camera and me watching on my presenter's screen, watching these hyenas in infrared. And there hasn't been too much movement since you were last here. That one that came up and caused all the commotion with the suckling cub has lain down quite close to the big female and her cub. Oh, there's a cub in the foreground. It's moving. It's come out the burrow. How's that for timing? Okay, I'm just going to give you all a bit of a heads up. If it goes closer to those other hyenas, there might be a bit of interaction and there might be some noises. And if that happens, I'm going to keep quiet so you can all listen. Yeah, it's approaching very cautiously and smelling around as it goes. Lying down. All on its own. Shame. Shame, look at how it's curled up, tucking its head towards the rest of its body. The temperature here has just dropped quite markedly. And I think, obviously with it having a fur coat, I don't think it's going to be too troubled by the temperature. But I think that cozy burrow tonight, with its sibling and the other cub from the other litter, I think there'll be a nice place for them to be, keep nice and warm and safe as well, down in that burrow. And pretty soon, once that cub has finished, once those other cubs, I can't see if it's 1 or 2 cubs suckling there. Once that cub is done suckling, I'm pretty sure that the adults will stand up. Mom might move her cubs back towards the entrance to the burrows, and then the clan is going to head out to go and hunt for the night, mark their territory as well as they go. Oh, see her eyes closing. So for now, not much urgency in terms of trying to head out. Lisa, you're saying you love watching them interacting with each other. Lisa, they have to be one of the most incredible creatures to watch in terms of their social structure, their social interactions. Like we saw that brief little scuffle earlier, but sitting at a den like this in the evening when all the adults are coming out or coming in towards the den to socialize before they go out can be absolutely fascinating. Watching the greeting ceremonies, the lifting of the back legs. Sometimes the odd little giggle or whine or cackle or screech. For those of you who've visited or been to a wilderness area, been to the bush before, you may be very familiar with the whooping call that hyenas give. And if you are sitting at a den like this and one of the adults gives one of those calls, it's really incredible to be so close to the source of the sound. You don't realize just how loud that noise is. It's not quite a lion roaring at close range, but it's probably a close second. Well, a close-ish second, let's put it that way. So it's an impressive sound, let's just say that. Yeah, we've stopped seeing the eye shine from that female on the right. So she's obviously gone off to sleep, feeling pretty comfortable that she and her cubs are quite safe for the time being. Because obviously a den site like this, with all the hyena activity around here, even though they typically don't bring that many bones or carcasses back to the den for the cubs, still their smell is collecting in this area. So if a lion pride comes past and they catch the scent of the hyenas, they may come in to investigate, and that's obviously a really dangerous thing for these little cubs. And one of the reasons why the hyena cubs will use the den. But it's been an awesome afternoon here at andBeyond Phinda, and it sounds like it's been a wonderful afternoon across all of the locations, and we're so glad that you're able to join us. I know that we got a bit delayed in heading out here, but nice for us to have been able to see those rhinos, the elephant, and the hyenas now, of course, as well at the end. So I think we're probably going to leave these hyenas soon and start to make our way home. We hope that you've enjoyed your afternoons of your sunset safari with us today. And who knows what tomorrow will bring. We look forward to welcoming you back on board on the sunrise safari tomorrow morning.